What's up, guys? It's your boy AlmightySkyDxddy back with a new Naruto What If series. Reborn in Naruto. Evil MC possess suppressed Naruto's dark side. Part 3. If you enjoy my content, consider subscribing to the channel. Like the video, share, and leave a comment. This really helps with the algorithm. Remember to check out the author of this fantastic fanfic. Link in the description. Also, I have set up a Patreon account. Consider joining to support the channel and for more exclusive content. With all that out of the way, let's get into it. His lips moved, and although he had no intention of sharing it with Sakura, he said coldly, "Naruto is stronger than you think. Instead of worrying about this, you should worry about yourself," he added. "With the ninja level you have shown so far, it's best to think about how not to be eliminated." Having finished speaking, he ignored Sakura, put his hands in his pockets, jumped directly to the top of the opposite building, and walked away. Sakura remained silent, her thoughts in turmoil. She walked home, distressed and withdrawing her concern. Upon returning home, Naruto lay on his bed in a daze. Feeling the emptiness of his home and the quietness of his mind, he got up and opened the window, feeling bored. The night light streamed in through the window, casting its glow upon the half-written manuscript on the table. Recalling the fragments of the day, Naruto felt a tinge of remorse in his heart. Ever since Kase had appeared, he had been extremely kind to him. Kase engaged in conversation, guided him to make money, protected him when in danger, and even helped him pursue Sakura. But today, due to an enemy, Naruto had shouted at Kase, and even expressed hatred towards him. Reflecting upon it now, Naruto felt a sense of confusion. Yet, as he pondered further, he couldn't ignore Kase's determination to kill Toru and retrieve his roots, despite Naruto's repeated objections. A mixture of anger and unease welled up within Naruto. In essence, he was troubled by Kase's failure to adhere to his words, and this made him feel uncomfortable. Should I apologize to Kase? Naruto questioned himself, gazing out of the window into the night. After all, Kase has been so good to me, like an older brother protecting his younger sibling. Naruto's face displayed a conflicted expression as he contemplated his decision. But he continues to kill, even after I've forbidden him, and his methods are exceedingly brutal. If this continues, will he harm my friends and Sakura in the future? It's him who should be apologizing. It has been so long, and he hasn't explained himself or spoken to me. What does that mean? With a troubled mind, Naruto sat at the table, his head in his hands. Major personality trust dependency value. 20% within his consciousness, Naruto saw Kase prompted by the system, and a smile emerged from the corner of his mouth. Soon after, Kase vanished without uttering a word or offering an explanation. His purpose was to make Naruto, who had grown accustomed to his presence, experience discomfort upon his absence. Clearly, Kase had succeeded, as Naruto's heart felt a void. Although it had previously decreased by 30%, only 10% remained, leaving Kase devoid of the outside world's vision and voice. However, Naruto keenly perceived the complex and ever-changing emotions within himself, and Kase was acutely aware of them as well. In truth, Naruto's strong reaction to Kase's killing of Toru stemmed not only from the act of killing itself, but also from the feeling of losing control that Kase's absence evoked within him. It made him feel uneasy and panicked. Perhaps Naruto himself wasn't fully aware, but deep within his subconscious, he desired control and vigilance over Kase. This natural inclination of the primary personality towards the sub-personality could be considered innate, even if Naruto himself didn't comprehend it. Time passed, its duration unknown. When the dim light outside the window made it difficult to distinguish objects, Naruto finally made up his mind. With a sincere tone, he spoke solemnly, "Kase, I'm sorry. I was wrong this afternoon. I shouldn't have yelled at you and scolded you." Before Kase in his consciousness could respond, Naruto continued, "To prevent you from being so vicious and terrifying, I will work hard to learn ninjutsu to protect myself, and try to avoid involving you in battles. But in my daily life, I will find ways to make it up to you and give you more opportunities to emerge." This was the resolution Naruto had reached after a night of contemplation. Since he couldn't change Kase, he decided to start with himself. "I may not know how to stop you from killing, but I can try my best to prevent you from participating in fights," Naruto declared. "So please, don't be angry anymore, and I promise not to get angry with you again too. Let's consider our mistakes cancelled out." After this long conversation, Naruto eagerly awaited Kei's response, his ears perked up. However, Kei remained silent for a considerable time. Just as Naruto's feelings of loss and grievances were about to overwhelm him, he finally heard a faint humming sound from Kei. You're the master personality, and your decision holds the final say. Upon receiving Kei's answer, Naruto's face broke into a wide smile. He stood up from the stool, dancing with excitement. Great. I knew you wouldn't be so petty, Kei. Major personality trust dependency value. 30% in Naruto's conscious awareness, Kei regained his voice and vision of the outside world. The conflict had been resolved, and Naruto's stomach growled loudly as his thoughts became clear. Throughout the previous afternoon, he had been so preoccupied that he had forgotten to eat. Now that the matter was settled, his intense hunger overwhelmed him, causing him to slump onto his bed. I'm starving. I really want to eat ramen, he mused, glancing at the darkened night sky and the unlit buildings outside. With no intention of venturing out, Naruto had no choice but to settle for a glass of juice. Due to Kei's request, all expired milk and instant noodles had been discarded. Moreover, Naruto had been too busy these past few days to visit the supermarket. Wait, don't I still have some noodles in the fridge? Naruto suddenly remembered. Those dried noodles had been bought a while ago, but had been forgotten after just one cooking session. Forget it, I'll let Kei take over and make something to eat, Naruto decided. The kitchen still held a complete and unexpired stock of seasonings, which Naruto had bought when his finances were tight, using them for fish and wild vegetables he caught himself. Kei obliged, taking control of Naruto's body. While curiously watching Kei prepare the noodles, Naruto engaged in conversation with him about Kakashi's scolding that afternoon, and the upcoming field survival drill the next day. The following morning arrived early. Naruto, awakened by the sound of his alarm clock, yawned and set off for their training session. With Naruto's vision aiding him, Kei noticed a significant increase in the shadowy figures surrounding Naruto. It appeared that Sarutobi Hiruzen had heightened Naruto's protection following yesterday's incident. This suggested that Sarutobi Hiruzen had yet to deal with Danzo. Danzo hadn't given up on Naruto, or rather, he couldn't afford to give up. After all, he had lost a valuable asset in the form of Kei, whose dangerous character Danzo wouldn't easily dismiss. If Danzo were in Sarutobi's position, he wouldn't let go of such a powerful weapon. Naruto, don't forget to eat breakfast, Kei reminded him. Aware of the ambiguous situation in the original plot, Naruto didn't want to skip breakfast like Kakashi had suggested. He wanted to experience the hunger that Kakashi's words were intended to inflict upon him. I haven't forgotten. I'll go buy something now, Naruto replied nonchalantly. With that, Naruto headed to a nearby store, where he purchased 3 yakisoba bread and 3 boxes of milk. Due to his previous destructive behavior, the store dared not provide Naruto with expired items, nor did they dare scold him. The store was well aware that Naruto's reputation could greatly impact his business. Training ground. Sasuke and Sakura had already arrived and were waiting. They watched as Naruto approached, munching on his fried noodles, bread and sipping milk. They ran towards him, their faces adorned with exasperated expressions. But Sasuke and Sakura understood Naruto well enough to know that such actions were expected of him. Moreover, Naruto's demeanor today wasn't as gloomy as it had been the previous day, alleviating their concerns. Good morning, Sakura, Sasuke, Naruto greeted them, his mouth still full of food. Sakura, her face darkened, reproached him. Naruto, didn't Kakashi-sensei say it's best not to eat in the morning to avoid vomiting? Naruto continued chewing, took a sip of milk, and then offered them the 2 remaining boxes of milk he had prepared. Do you want to eat? I bought these for you too. I don't want to eat. Sakura snapped back, turning her head away. If Kakashi-sensei deems you unqualified because of this later, don't come crying to us. Swallowing her saliva, Sakura's determination to pass the test was already wavering, and she didn't want to disobey Kakashi's instructions. Sasuke, on the other hand, wore a thoughtful expression. He glanced around, scanning the area, before shaking his head. Let's wait a little longer. Sasuke didn't outright reject Naruto's offer. He had observed some clues that led him to believe Kakashi's warning about not eating breakfast might be part of a scheme to deliberately starve them. As time passed and Kakashi's absence continued, Naruto's stomach, now filled with food, grumbled loudly. Sure enough, an hour passed. Kakashi was still nowhere to be seen. Sasuke had a look on his face that said, I knew it, as he reached into Naruto's arms, and took the fried noodle bread and milk. Thanks. After thanking Naruto, he began eating in big bites. Sasuke, why are you doing the same thing? Sakura, who saw Sasuke's actions, had a face filled with confusion. Wasn't Sasuke afraid of being punished by Kakashi-sensei, which would result in disqualification? If you're hungry, eat. If you're afraid of vomiting, then don't eat. It's as simple as that. Sasuke frowned and didn't give Sakura a pleasant look. Although her academic performance at the academy was good, when it came to practical situations, she didn't analyze things on his own, and only relied on asking others. Seeing Sasuke's impolite response to Sakura, Naruto glared at him. He then stuffed the remaining fried noodle bread and milk into Sakura's hands. Sakura, let's ignore him. If you want to eat, go ahead. There won't be any problems. But Sakura covered her growling stomach and hesitated. It's really fine, and I've already guessed Kakashi-sensei's intentions. Naruto raised his head proudly as if saying, I didn't want to say it, but I have to for your sake. In fact, it's simple. Kakashi-sensei was able to single-handedly drive away those ninjas yesterday, so his strength is undoubtedly strong. And this time, he is our opponent. Do you think he wants to maliciously eliminate us? Without giving them a chance to answer, Naruto waved his hand. Definitely not, otherwise, he wouldn't go through all the trouble of setting up this mission. So, he wants to assess whether we can work together as a team. As for the advice not to eat breakfast, it's simply to make us hungry and affect our judgment. Even during the assessment, there will be various traps waiting for us, hindering our cooperation. Those were the exact words Naruto and Kase told each other yesterday. Now Naruto was reciting them word for word, pretending to be knowledgeable. And the effect was quite significant. Sakura was dumbfounded, and Sasuke had a shocked expression on his face. It turns out it's teamwork. Both of them never expected Naruto, who was always at the bottom of the class, to analyze things so thoroughly. Sakura didn't say anything. She had been worrying about being eliminated since last night, and never thought about analyzing the assessment. Although Sasuke analyzed a lot of things, he didn't think about teamwork in the end. Now it makes sense why they formed teams of 3. After Sasuke let out a sigh, he turned his head and looked directly at Naruto. All of this must have been told to you by that person inside you, right? He's really powerful and smart, but I suggest you not rely too much on him. He's dangerous. Naruto, who had been laughing proudly, suddenly stopped laughing. With a guilty look on his face, he stubbornly retorted. How do you know it wasn't me who thought of it myself? You're just jealous that I'm smarter than you at analyzing. Sakura also agreed with Sasuke's words, and there was no shock in her eyes as she looked at Naruto. You couldn't analyze things well in the analysis class at school, but suddenly you're able to analyze everything after graduation. Naruto, are you kidding us? Sakura still had fresh memories of the horror inside Naruto. It was powerful but ruthless, taking out the disguised teacher in just a moment. If Naruto's analysis was informed by him, then it would make perfect sense. Kase is actually my alter ego. What he says is the same as what I say. Naruto stubbornly refused to admit that his analysis was poor. Kase. Alter ego. X2 Both Sakura and Sasuke looked at Naruto with inquisitive eyes. They had some guesses about the person inside Naruto, but they never asked about it. After all, every ninja has their own secrets. Delving too much into someone else's secrets would only make people dislike you. Naruto didn't mind sharing it with them. After all, they were all teammates now, and there was no need to hide anything. That's the gist of it. Naruto Uzumaki and Uzumaki Kazekyo are both me, 2 sides of the same coin. After listening to Naruto's story, both of them sighed. Sakura had a better understanding of Naruto's past experiences and sympathized with him even more. Sasuke, on the other hand, was somewhat envious of Naruto having such a powerful ally. If he could have such a powerful alter ego, he might be able to defeat Itachi Uchiha in no time. It's true that there are 2 sides, one is the underdog side, and the other is the leader's side. After sarcastically teasing Naruto, Sasuke changed the topic and spoke seriously. Let's leave it at that regarding Naruto's situation. I think we need to discuss the division of roles within the team. Since they had figured out Kakashi's assessment criteria, they should strive to perform their best according to those criteria. Otherwise, if they ended up working individually due to improper division of labor, they would be deemed unfit. How should we allocate the roles? Naruto looked at the 2 of them and asked. This kind of strategic thinking was not his strong suit. Of course, we should divide it into main offense, feint offense, and overall command. Sakura quickly stated the content they had learned in class before. Sasuke nodded and then shifted his gaze back to Naruto. Would your alter ego, Kase, intervene? No, I plan to minimize his involvement. It's too frightening every time he takes action. Naruto waved his hands repeatedly. He didn't want his team's leader to be killed. In that case, what about your multiple shadow clones? Can you still create as many as you demonstrated before? I could before, but not anymore. Now I can only create around 10 or so at most. There's a bit of a problem with what's written here. Let's assume Naruto's control over the clones was limited at first, so he relied more on tapping into the overflowing chakra of the 9 tails through the seal, which also caused him to struggle with performing jutsu properly. Naruto made a pouting face, clearly unhappy with his situation. It's because yesterday that fake teacher patted me on the stomach and I felt like my chakra decreased a lot. But I can still perform the shadow clone jutsu successfully, so I won't fail. Because the 5-element seal blocks the 8 trigram seal, Naruto's 9 tails chakra was transformed into his own chakra. As a result, Naruto felt a decrease in his chakra levels, which also affected his ability to create multiple shadow clones. Normally, this kind of situation would cause chaos when 2 types of chakra coexist, making it impossible for Naruto to control his chakra. However, conveniently enough, Kase exchanged for the 9 tails chakra provided by the system, and it was completely independent. This also influenced Naruto's body, preventing him from treating the unconvertible 9 tails chakra as any other chakra, thus avoiding chaos. With no chaos and a reduced amount of excess chakra, Naruto now had smooth control over his chakra, and could successfully perform the shadow clone jutsu. Is that so? Then I'll be the main attacker, and you can assist me with feints. Sakura will oversee the overall situation and support us. Sasuke quickly arranged the preliminary tactical assignments. The rest would have to rely on improvisation when the time came. After all, this was their first cooperation, and being too detailed would only hinder them. As expected of Sasuke, you've assigned the roles quickly. Impressive. Sakura was the first to agree, her body swaying flirtatiously. Meanwhile, Naruto glared angrily at Sasuke, thinking that Sasuke was trying to steal his thunder and make Sakura like him. Why are you the main attacker instead of me? I want to be the main attacker. Fine, you can be the main attacker, and I'll assist. Sasuke couldn't be bothered to argue with Naruto. Being the assistant was easier for him. After all, it was a team assessment, and the positions didn't really matter. As the sun rose higher in the sky, reaching its peak, Kakashi finally arrived, carrying a backpack. Hey, good morning. You're late. Sakura, Naruto, and Sasuke all glared at Kakashi. They had arrived at 6 o'clock in the morning, and now it was almost noon, and Kakashi was just showing up. Fortunately, Naruto was quick-witted and brought them fried noodle sandwiches and milk. Otherwise, they would be starving by now. Sorry, everyone. I'm not late. I just got lost on the path of life. Because he was reading this novel called Young Aming, he lost track of time. Isn't getting lost on the path of life the same thing as what happened to him? It's all that author's fault for writing a novel that's even more interesting than Icha Paradise, making him forget about time. In his heart, Kakashi didn't hesitate to shift the blame to Naruto, even though he didn't know Naruto was the author. Alright, calm down, everyone. This is also part of the assessment. Saying that, Kakashi took out an alarm clock and 2 bells from his backpack. It's already 11 o'clock, cough cough. I'll set the alarm to 12. You have 1 hour to try and take the 2 bells from me. After the time is up, those who haven't taken a bell will not qualify for lunch, and will be tied to those pillars over there to watch me eat. Kakashi pointed to 3 wooden pillars standing nearby. So, scaring us not to eat breakfast was all for this. Sakura and Sasuke were relieved once again that they had eaten the food Naruto brought. But before their relief could fully settle, Kakashi smirked and said with a sinister tone. And there are only 2 bells, which means one of you will be tied to a pillar and deemed unfit, needing to retake the exam at the academy. The 3 of them showed a hint of excitement on their faces. As expected, Kase's analysis earlier was accurate. He had planned from the beginning to sow discord among them, making it impossible for them to cooperate, and forcing them to fend for themselves. If they truly fought individually, they wouldn't be able to snatch even a single bell, resulting in all of them being eliminated. TSK, you guys have impressive mental fortitude. Not a single one of you is surprised or jumping around in panic. Honestly, seeing the 3 of them maintaining a calm and composed demeanor, Kakashi's eyes carried a hint of appreciation. He leisurely took out a copy of the Young Aming from his bag and spoke. Alright, enough with the chit-chat. Let's get started. The moment the two words hit the ground, Naruto and Kakashi on the opposite side immediately distanced themselves. They took cover in the surrounding bushes together. Create distance, conceal your presence, and observe. Not bad, it seems you haven't returned the knowledge from this school. Kakashi, who stood still in place, nodded in satisfaction. Then he continued to lower his head and look at the book in his hand, paying no attention. Seeing Kakashi's indifference, Naruto felt somewhat annoyed and underestimated. Kakashi-sensei didn't even bother to dodge. He doesn't take us seriously at all. Doesn't he fear that I'll summon K's and beat him up? Upon hearing Naruto's complaints, Sakura immediately turned her head with anticipation. Naruto, I agree with your idea. This way, we'll definitely be able to snatch the bells and pass the test. Thinking of the way K's had beaten up the fake teacher yesterday, Sakura inexplicably felt excited. Maybe she just likes that kind of cold, powerful type of person. Huh. This test would be better if we rely on ourselves, right, Sasuke? Naruto casually said, not expecting Sakura to take it seriously. But he couldn't bring himself to reject Sakura either. So he looked to Sasuke, seeking help. Sasuke, on the other hand, gave Sakura a cold glance. His eyes showed more disgust and disdain. Naruto already said to avoid using the alter ego as much as possible. If your memory is bad, then go treat your mind. Being looked at with that kind of gaze again, Sakura couldn't help but feel wronged and teary-eyed. It was Naruto who said it in the first place, but now it seemed like it was her fault. I didn't mean that. Just like we discussed earlier, Naruto takes the lead, I'll assist, and Sakura will provide long-range support while observing the situation. Does anyone have a different idea? No, Naruto and Sakura shook their heads. Then let me remind you once again, the test is about teamwork. Cooperation is the key to scoring. Sasuke slightly bowed his body, his legs tense. Let's begin. Whoosh. 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 As the words fell, the three of them turned into blurs and rushed forward. Naruto in the front, Sasuke in the back, and Sakura held her kunai in hand, occupying a high branch with a wide field of view. Teamwork, huh? To have such determination on our first mission, we're much better than those who only think about showing off. Although Kakashi's face showed an unconcerned expression, as if he only wanted to read his book, his peripheral vision was always observing the three of them. He was quite satisfied with their current performance as well. Even if they didn't pass the test due to their belief that companions are more important than the mission, with this keen awareness, Kakashi believed he could help correct their thinking without actually eliminating them. Naruto and the others were unaware that they had already qualified at this moment. They had only one goal in mind, to snatch the bells from Kakashi's waist. Naruto, use Shadow Clone Jutsu when you get close. I'll distract the teacher. Alright. After a brief conversation, the two of them arrived in front of Kakashi. Naruto suddenly stopped his footsteps and began to make hand seals. Multiple Shadow Clone Jutsu. Sasuke's wrists swiftly moved, and about 10 shurikens were divided into two sides, left and right, shooting toward Kakashi. Ichiha's style shuriken jutsu. A straightforward throwing of hidden weapons wouldn't work. Without even lifting his head, Kakashi took a few steps back, dodging the incoming shuriken. Then he bent forward and lowered his body, evading Sakura's shuriken from behind. A pincer attack, not bad. It's just that the shuriken from behind was a bit lacking. Otherwise, I would have had to use my weapon to block it. Kakashi smiled and continued with his evaluations. Don't get cocky. Watch my multiple Shadow Clone Jutsu. After attracting attention from both sides, Naruto successfully created 10 Shadow Clones, and they all charged towards Kakashi. Sasuke quickly caught up with Naruto and whispered, Naruto, use your clones to restrain him while you hide your real self. Though he didn't understand why, Naruto understood the need for cooperation and nodded. Immediately, his real self took a step back while the clones surrounded Kakashi, tightly holding onto his limbs and feeling the bells around his waist. Quantity over quality, but it's still useless. Kakashi pulled out his left hand from his pocket, not using any weapons, and with a few swift strikes, he made Naruto's clones cry out in pain and let go. However, with more and more clones replacing the fallen ones, Kakashi was temporarily entangled in the same spot. Sasuke, seeing Kakashi successfully trapped, smirked and quickly formed hand seals. Snake, sheep, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. Sensei, you're defeated. Sasuke clenched his fists, raising his index and middle fingers in front of his mouth, puffing up his cheeks. Fire style, Great Fireball Jutsu. A massive fireball, with a radius of about 1 meter, was expelled from Sasuke's mouth, targeting Kakashi, who was entangled by Naruto's clones. It's a C-rank ninjutsu. Didn't expect that. Besides Naruto, there's also Sasuke, a promising young ninja. Amidst Kakashi's shocked and wide-eyed gaze, there was a mixture of joy. Soon, his entire body was engulfed by the fireball. Kakashi-sensei. Naruto also shouted in disbelief. Then he turned angrily towards Sasuke and grabbed his collar. "You bastard, you've gone too far." Sasuke was about to say something when he heard Sakura's urgent voice from a distance. "It's a substitution jutsu, be careful above you." Above us, both Naruto and Sasuke were startled, and as they tried to dodge, they heard a voice coming from above their heads. "You shouldn't fight among yourselves without confirming your opponent's status. That's worth deducting some points." Kakashi crouched on a tree trunk, holding the young Aming book in his hand. But in the next moment, he appeared in front of them with a noose in his hand. At the same time, several coils of ropes suddenly appeared in midair. With a gentle pull from Kakashi, the ropes quickly contracted, binding both Naruto and Sasuke, suspending them from the tree. So fast, so powerful. This is the strength of an elite Jonin. Sasuke exclaimed in shock, realizing it was a bit too late. The actions just took a blink of an eye to complete, he had no time to dodge. Naruto, on the other hand, was shouting and protesting, clearly feeling unsatisfied. "You attack by surprise. It doesn't count. If you're so capable, face me openly. In a battle, there's no such thing as a surprise attack or not." Kakashi tightened the ropes, completely binding both Naruto and Sasuke to the tree trunk. Then he looked up slightly, facing Naruto. "So, how about letting that guy inside you come out? Otherwise, I might go catch Sakura." "No need, I can defeat you on my own." Naruto desperately struggled, waving his limbs. But the ropes bound by Kakashi were too tight, and without external force, they couldn't break free. TCH, such a childish temper, always boasting. Kakashi sneered, looking at the young Aming book in his hand, but still provoking with his words. "Let him come out then, or else you'll truly fail. It can't be that he doesn't dare to come out because he's afraid of me, right? Kase wouldn't be afraid of you." Naruto angrily roared, "If he comes out, I can defeat you with just one hand." "Oh?" Kakashi's expression turned cold as he loosened the rope in his hand, then pulled it up again. Naruto and Sasuke went up and down like they were playing bungee jumping. At that moment, Kase, within Naruto's consciousness, couldn't bear to watch anymore. Initially, he had no intention of interfering, but since Kakashi dared to provoke him, he decided to give him a taste of failure. He spoke up, "Naruto, I have a way for you to win without me coming out. Can you help me win without coming out?" Naruto, who was swayed up and down and felt dizzy, suddenly became spirited upon hearing Kase's voice. Suppressing the discomfort in his body, he eagerly asked in his mind, "How can you help me win? Are you going to teach me how to use the power of the Nine Tails?" Kase chuckled and shook his head, saying, "I see you're just daydreaming. I can't teach you that stuff. You have to figure it out on your own." Kase was speaking the truth. His Nine Tails was a power given by the system, and he was the master of it. On the other hand, Naruto's Nine Tails was a seal-tailed beast, so if he wanted power, he naturally had to rely on the Nine Tails. "If you can't come out and I can't become stronger, then what should I do?" Naruto pursed his lips, feeling a bit frustrated and angry. He thought Kase was just teasing him and playing around to amuse himself. "Naruto, there are ways to solve problems other than violence, like your rusty brain." Kase was a bit resentful of Naruto's lack of progress. "Forget about being a saint, he's even dumb. If you're miserable, who else would be miserable?" "What? Why are you scolding me, Kase? I knew you were just messing with me." Naruto felt both angry and aggrieved, ignoring the swing of his body, as he wildly bared his teeth and claws at the air. This scene was also observed by Kakashi. "Are you communicating with that alter ego called Uzumaki Kazekyo? Is he about to come out soon?" Thinking this way, Kakashi accelerated his movements again. Now, the bungee jumping duo turned into a dancing duo. Kase also saw Kakashi's mischievous behavior. The discomfort Naruto felt over there began to transmit to Kase. "No longer playing coy?" Kase directly asked. "It's simple. Look at what book Kakashi is holding." "Ugh." Naruto, feeling nauseous from being swayed, quickly looked down at the book in Kakashi's hands. Young Aming. Naruto suddenly realized that the book he had never paid attention to was actually the novel written by Kase. "Are you telling me to exchange the bell with Kakashi-sensei using the subsequent plot of the novel?" "Kase." Forget it, just listen to me. Completely speechless, Kei's immediately gave up on the idea of guiding Naruto's thinking. I'll tell you the plot of the rest of the novel later. You use that plot to attract Kakashi's attention. While his focus is not concentrated, use the Shadow Clone Jutsu again, and attack Kakashi together with others, shouting for revenge. Pay attention, this time you make one clone look like a shuriken, mixed in with the attacks, to get close to the bell at his waist. While he's focused on the plot and dodging, make the shuriken clone revert back and snatch the bell. Do you understand? Because Naruto's access to Nine Tails chakra was severed, his Shadow Clone Jutsu returned to its normal level. So transforming a clone into a shuriken wouldn't be a problem. I understand. After listening to Kei's plan, Naruto's face was full of admiration. He originally thought Kei was just a violent man who only resorted to violence. He never expected him to be so smart and come up with such a clever plan. Shouting for revenge and launching an attack, all while aiming for the bell. If it weren't for Naruto's lack of cultural knowledge, he would definitely praise the plan as a clever diversionary tactic. Outside. Kakashi-sensei, if you dare to shake me to death today, I swear when I break free, we'll beat your ass to a pulp. While shouting at the top of his lungs, Naruto gave Sakura a frantic signal with his eyes. Using a slightly louder voice, he said to Sasuke, who was equally disoriented beside him, when Sakura breaks the rope later, let's team up and attack him again. We have to avenge ourselves, even if we can't beat Kakashi-sensei, we have to at least hit him once. Idiot, you're too loud. Sasuke, who was disoriented, felt a bit exhausted. With a teammate like this idiot, it's no wonder he lost. You want to hit my ass? Then don't blame me for not being fair and using our Leaf Village secret technique, the 1000 years of death, on you. Kakashi had a smiling face, but in his heart, he already had a plan to make Naruto and Sasuke bloom like flowers. Swoosh. 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 Not far away, Sakura, finding the right timing, threw shuriken at the rope. Kakashi, seeing this, didn't stop her. He let the rope that bound Naruto and Sasuke break, freeing them from captivity and landing back on the ground. Sasuke, Sakura, attack quickly. As soon as they landed, Naruto quickly formed hand seals and created shadow clones. After shouting attack, and then loudly shouting at Kakashi, he continued, Chapter 31, Ming's mom's friend. Chapter 31. Kakashi was a bit puzzled and didn't understand what Naruto was talking about at first. But when Kakashi heard the name Ming and a coherent storyline that followed, his expression couldn't hold back any longer. His eyes widened in disbelief, looking as if he had seen a ghost. How is this possible? How do you know this storyline? No wait, he quickly looked at the corner of the book he had in hand. The author is named Kazekyo. Uzumaki Kazekyo. The author is your alter ego. You wrote this novel, don't just stand there, move quickly. Use your hidden weapons to support me. Seeing Sakura and Sasuke stunned in place, their faces turning red, Naruto's shadow clones growled and quickly charged at Kakashi. Seeing his teammates stunned and blushing while listening to the storyline, Naruto's shadow clones roared and quickly charged towards Kakashi. Being shouted at, Sakura and Sasuke finally snapped out of their daze and looked at Naruto with a complex expression. They knew that Kakashi was momentarily stunned by shock, which was a rare opportunity. So they focused their minds and didn't ask any unnecessary questions at this moment. They quickly followed Naruto's instructions and took out their hidden weapons, throwing them in Kakashi's direction. Meanwhile, Naruto, while repeating what Kei said, also had a shuriken that looked like a normal hidden weapon in his hand. He took out more shuriken from his ninja tool pouch and threw them all towards Kakashi. The storyline is very decisive. It turns out that even mom's friend Kakashi listened with fascination, as if he were being bathed in the holy scriptures. Just like the Icha Paradise, he had read this story several times as well. Now, subtly hearing the eagerly awaited continuation of the plot, Kakashi was truly captivated. Just like in Icha Paradise, Kakashi repeated to himself, lost in the storyline. But even as Naruto's shadow clones and numerous hidden weapons attacked him, Kakashi remained calm and effortlessly evaded all the attacks. You've done well, but it's a shame that your last desperate attempt to beat me shows that you're still inexperienced. Kakashi's smiling face suddenly changed, and his hand reached for the bell at his waist. However, the bell had already disappeared. With a jingling sound, accompanied by Naruto's triumphant laughter, the bell rang behind Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei, I've snatched the bell. You've lost, as Naruto confidently said, you lost. Kei's received a message from the system. Host trust dependency value. 35 corruption value plus 200 current corruption value. 5,000 Naruto turned into a shuriken and obtained the bell. From a distance, Sasuke and Sakura, who witnessed the entire process, were left speechless. They had initially thought they couldn't grab the bell, and just wanted to vent their frustration. Unexpectedly, the situation took a dramatic turn, and Naruto deceived everyone and obtained the bell. However, this doesn't seem like Naruto's usual style, right? It wasn't just Sakura and Sasuke who thought so, even Kakashi, with a gloomy face, shared the same sentiment. He walked toward Naruto, clapping his hands. You used the novel's content to attract my attention, prevented me from thinking clearly, then used persuasion to provoke me into seeking revenge, and finally, you transformed into a clone to sneakily steal the bell amidst the attack. These interconnected steps make up a meticulous and brilliant plan. As expected of the author of such a masterpiece, Kazekyo is truly a formidable existence. While Kakashi looked at Naruto's face, his words had nothing to do with Naruto. Kazekyo. So, this plan was devised by Naruto's alter ego. That makes sense now. Sakura suddenly realized, while Sasuke breathed a sigh of relief. As long as it wasn't Naruto's idea, they were fine with it. As for Naruto's alter ego, Kase, he was a twisted individual capable of killing an elite jonin. The gap in strength was insurmountable, and comparing themselves to him would only increase the pressure. Oh, so you found out, sensei. Naruto's smiling face turned guilty as Kakashi exposed him. But Kase is still part of me. Sensei, you won't act unfairly and refuse to accept defeat, right? Kakashi withdrew his gaze and disdainfully replied, a loss is a loss. I'm not going to hold a grudge against a few genin like you. But Kakashi's tone suddenly changed, and he wore a malicious smile. You guys only have 2 bells. Have you decided who will be eliminated and tied to the post to watch me eat lunch? Huh? Sakura was puzzled by Kakashi's words. Isn't this a test to determine our teamwork? We've all successfully obtained the bells and completed the mission. Why should we be eliminated after that? Sakura's words made Kakashi understand why the 3 of them chose to cooperate from the beginning. It seems you all saw through the purpose of this test from the start. He must have told you, right? Kakashi suddenly felt a bit exhausted. He was here to teach, but Kase was undermining his efforts, making him less adorable. He couldn't understand why Naruto, who shared the same body, was so foolish and weak. No, it's possible that Naruto's foolishness and weakness gave birth to this powerful personality as a means of self-protection. Kakashi felt that his guess was reasonable, but he maintained a calm demeanor on the surface. Who said I was threatening you? The rules were made clear from the beginning. There were only 2 bells, so one person must be eliminated. Seeing the happiness fade from the 3 of them, Kakashi looked down, silent. He didn't intentionally create further difficulties and directly pointed at Sakura, saying, since you all can't decide, I'll make the choice. Sakura Haruno, based on your performance, unfortunately, you're the weakest. You're eliminated. After saying that, Kakashi waved his hand, motioning Naruto and Sasuke, who stood aside, to come forward. You two, go tie Sakura to the pillar and then start eating lunch, Kakashi ordered. Upon hearing the outcome, Sakura slumped to the ground in complete defeat. Naruto and Sasuke, however, remained motionless. Naruto, in his mind, frantically called out to his alter ego, who knew the original storyline and understood Kakashi's intention. Kei spoke directly to Naruto. Naruto, refuse him. What should I do after refusing? Naruto asked. Nothing in particular. You have to understand that the 3 of you are a team. Without any one of you, the test will fail, Kei replied. Naruto seemed to grasp something and raise his head with determination in his eyes. Kakashi-sensei, I refuse to follow your command because I believe it is unreasonable. Oh? Kakashi became interested, turning his head to look at Naruto. Are you suggesting that you want to take Sakura's place in being eliminated? If you insist on eliminating someone, then eliminate me instead, Naruto declared. We were able to obtain the bells precisely because we had all 3 of us. It would work with either Sasuke or Sakura missing, he continued. We are an indispensable unit. We are partners who can accomplish missions together. We are Team 7. Naruto's words resonated with conviction, leaving Sakura, who was in despair, deeply moved. Sasuke also raised his head, speaking earnestly. We completed the mission as a team, yet one of us must be eliminated. I don't agree with this unfair assessment. So, I agree with Naruto. The sensei insists on eliminating someone, then I choose to withdraw from Team 7. This environment is not suitable for my growth. The words of both Naruto and Sasuke narrowed Kakashi's eyes, his expression turning hostile as he looked at Sakura. They have chosen to eliminate themselves. What about you? Do you want to be the only one deemed qualified? Kakashi asked, his tone filled with malice. Sakura hesitated, glancing at Naruto and Sasuke, who had resolute expressions. Finally, she gritted her teeth and spoke, I also give up. Naruto and Sasuke are right. We completed the mission together as a team. We are partners, an entity. Very well. Since all of you think that way, then Kakashi's serious expression slowly softened, and his voice changed from stern to gentle. Congratulations, all of you pass. Hearing Kakashi's words, the three of them were stunned, followed by an outburst of disbelief. Kakashi-sensei, did you make a mistake? Weren't we supposed to be eliminated? How did we suddenly pass? Smiling faintly at their joyous reactions, Kakashi looked into the distance. Missions are crucial for ninjas and must be completed. Those who cannot complete them are considered worthless. But those who value the mission over their comrades are nothing more than scum, even worse than worthless. That's why I had to weed out such individuals, leading to this assessment. Kakashi's words brought tears to Naruto's eyes. Is this what being a ninja is? It's so cool. Sasuke also had a smile on his face, while Sakura excitedly bounced up and down in place. The mission is successfully completed today. Disperse for now. Starting tomorrow, Team 7 will begin executing real missions. Alright. Kakashi's words filled the three of them with joy once again. They bid farewell and went home, except for Kakashi, who followed behind Naruto, engrossed in his book and reading it. Kakashi-sensei, why have you been following? Naruto, unable to bear it any longer, finally turned around and asked at his own doorstep. Kakashi, not considering himself an outsider, casually looked around before responding, Oh, we've already reached your doorstep. Don't just stand there, hurry up and open the door. Kakashi exclaimed in confusion. Naruto. This is my house, right? Naruto turned his face with a grim expression. Kakashi nodded and closed the book he was holding. I know. Yesterday afternoon, the Hokage and I came by. What? Don't be nervous, it was just a visit. It's because you and I have some significant connections, Kakashi said, looking at Naruto's face with a touch of sadness. Apart from the hair, why doesn't he resemble Sensei Minato at all? But it's probably for the best, it saves me from constantly being reminded of sad memories. With that in mind, Kakashi decided not to keep Naruto in suspense any longer and spoke directly. I remember seeing a stack of manuscripts on your desk yesterday. I want to read them before leaving. But don't worry, when your book gets published, I'll buy several more copies to make up for it. I knew it. Naruto had actually guessed Kakashi's intention already. But he didn't mind showing them to Kakashi in advance since he had become his team leader. However, Kakashi's mention of "you'll find out in the future," Kakashi replied, not intending to reveal it, and claim Naruto as his little disciple. To be honest, Kakashi had always harbored some resentment toward Minato, Naruto's father and his own teacher, the fourth Hokage. Even though he was the fastest man in the ninja world, he was always one step behind when his two disciples encountered trouble, leading to consecutive tragedies. Moreover, Minato did nothing to help with his own father's matter. However, Kakashi understood that ultimately, these resentments couldn't be attributed to Minato. It was just a result of the circumstances, necessitating consideration of the bigger picture. Nevertheless, these factors contributed to a lingering unease in Kakashi's heart. Of course, Kakashi's greatest resentment was directed at his own weak self, who couldn't change anything. The combination of all these factors resulted in Kakashi feeling indifferent toward Naruto and not providing any special care. It's always in the future. You're clearly treating me like a child. Naruto pouted and handed the manuscripts on the table to Kakashi. Here, take them. I've only written 10 chapters of the plot. Just as Kakashi was about to take them and start reading, he noticed that Naruto didn't let go of his hand, but instead looked at him with shining eyes. If there's something you want to say, say it. If it's too much trouble, I'd rather wait until the book is published, Kakashi said with some helplessness. He only wanted to catch up on a novel, why did it have to be so troublesome? Naruto chuckled and released Kakashi's hand, scratching his head in a somewhat embarrassed manner. Kakashi-sensei, can you teach me to train and control the Nine Tails chakra? I don't want to rely on K's for every fight and protection. I also want to become stronger and be recognized by everyone as I strive to become the Hokage myself. Staring at Naruto's expectant face, Kakashi was momentarily taken aback. However, he quickly understood what Naruto had in mind and furrowed his brow as he said, "Starting tomorrow, I will begin teaching you about training and better control of your chakra. But the Nine Tails chakra is quite unique, and I am powerless in that regard. However, you can try asking your alter ego. After you go through the initial phase of chakra control training, we will assess your chakra nature and proceed to the second phase of training. So there's no need to worry too much. Take it step by step, and eventually, you will become stronger and gain the recognition you seek." "Oh," Naruto responded, feeling somewhat disappointed. Taking it step by step seemed too slow. His main goal was to master the Nine Tails chakra and become stronger quickly. Unfortunately, neither Kakashi nor Kase could help him with that. Ignoring Naruto's disappointment, Kakashi quickly glanced at the manuscript in his hands. The plot was quite nice, and he was starting to get into it. He had reached a good stopping point. In the Hokage's office. "Naruto wants you to teach him about training and mastering the Nine Tails chakra." Hiruzen, hearing Kakashi's report, furrowed his brow. "Yes," Naruto said he doesn't want to rely on Kazekyo to fight. Kakashi nodded, offering his own speculation. He probably feels that he's too violent and brutal and resists relying on it. Naruto's two personalities were like two extremes. One was pure, kind-hearted, and forgetful, but with average talent. The other was violent, rebellious, vengeful, but exceptionally talented. Fortunately, the kind-hearted Naruto was the dominant one. If it were Kase in control, Konoha would have been in chaos during Naruto's childhood. Regarding Kakashi's speculation, Hiruzen neither confirmed nor denied it. That does sound like Naruto's style. However, he does need to improve his strength. The vast gap in power between the two personalities is not ideal, and constantly relying on the ferocious Kase for combat could pose risks. To be honest, Hiruzen had some concerns about the alter ego's personality, compared to the more manageable Naruto. Naruto was currently able to suppress it, but things might change in the future. After a moment of contemplation, Hiruzen continued, "Pay extra attention to Naruto's training. After all, he is also a descendant of the Uzumaki clan, and I will do my best to fulfill any requirements for his training. By the way, if you encounter root ninjas during future missions outside the village, be cautious. Although I managed to suppress Danzo, he hasn't given up. In any case, I will give you a secret code that only our trusted personnel will know." At the mention of Danzo's name, a dangerous gleam flickered in Kakashi's eyes. He held deep resentment towards Danzo because of what happened after the encounter in the Forest of Death. Danzo had even sent assassins after him for a while. Unfortunately for them, Kakashi killed them all, leaving no survivors. "I understand," Kakashi replied. Satisfied with Kakashi's response, Hiruzen didn't forget about Sasuke and Sakura either. If you're hurting one sheep, you're hurting, but if you're hurting a flock, you're still hurting. Since you're teaching the other two as well, don't neglect them. We need to foster a bond among them. Creating bonds among the team members was essential. He sighed. Naruto's erratic nature within the village was famous and very similar to one of his students. Hiruzen was now planning to set that plan in motion. As Kakashi left, Hiruzen turned to the Anbu operatives waiting in the darkness and gave them instructions. Send someone to track down Jiraiya's whereabouts and inform him about Naruto's need for guidance. Naruto's personality is quite similar to Jiraiya's, so I have no doubt he will provide the necessary guidance. After receiving their orders, the masked figures in the shadows vanished in an instant. Over the next month and a bit following Hiruzen Sarutobi's request, Kakashi arranged intense training for Naruto and his two companions. They practiced tree climbing and water walking to master chakra control. They engaged in physical training to enhance their strength. They trained in the art of throwing projectiles. And they had practical combat training against each other. In short, they would do missions in the morning and train in the afternoon and evening. The rigorous training almost exhausted Naruto and his companions. However, the results were remarkable. Except for Sakura, who still couldn't perform any ninjutsu. Sasuke mastered C-rank ninjutsu, and Naruto mastered A-rank ninjutsu. Their abilities were now on par with Chunin. Of course, Naruto's quick mastery of his chakra control was thanks to the late Torin's assistance. If he hadn't used the 5-element seal to inadvertently handle that massive chakra amount that was difficult to control, Naruto would probably still be struggling with tree climbing. Improving chakra control also represented an increase in strength. Even without the 9 tails chakra, Naruto could create nearly 100 shadow clones using his Uzumaki physique. Aside from their training, many things happened during this month and a bit. The novel Young Aming became a big hit as soon as it was released. The first volume sold over 100,000 copies in a month, breaking the record of Icha Paradise. Naruto and Iruka's relationship was restored to its former state under the deliberate guidance of Case. After Naruto explained, Iruka understood that it was not Naruto who was cruel, but rather a secondary personality formed from his painful past experiences. As a result, Iruka felt even more sympathy and compassion for Naruto. He even spent money to treat Naruto to ramen for a month, and often helped him clean his house, like a father figure. Later on, Hiruzen Sarutobi also started to value Iruka again. He promoted him and gave him new missions. He was tasked with trying to change Case's mindset using the will of fire and other ideologies. The outcome was undoubtedly a failure, as Case would simply disappear whenever he saw Iruka, further accelerating his plans. Executing the plan also required some capable individuals. Regarding these individuals, Case had already set his sights on 2 potential targets in the subsequent Wave Country storyline, Haku and Zabuza. At the Leaf Village mission hall, "Oh my little cutie, you had me so worried." The wife of the Fire Country daimyo tightly hugged a hissing and scratching cat, rubbing her head against it frantically. Even from a distance, Naruto and his companions could feel the cat's pain and resistance. At the mission desk, Hiruzen Sarutobi held a smoking pipe in his mouth and presented a completed mission slip. Team 7, successful completion of a D-rank mission, finding a lost tiger cub. The next mission is to help take care of children, or go to a neighboring village to purchase goods, or assist in harvesting sweet potatoes. Before Hiruzen Sarutobi finished speaking, Naruto couldn't hold back anymore. He crossed his arms in front of him, making a refusal gesture, and shouted, "No way. Don't give us tasks like these anymore. We've been training for over a month, and Kakashi-sensei said we're already at Chunin level." Sasuke and Sakura behind Naruto both nodded in agreement. After enduring rigorous training, it was only natural to have a significant mission to test their abilities. Seeing this, Hiruzen Sarutobi looked at Kakashi and asked, "What do you think?" Kakashi stroked his chin and spoke up. "They have already completed numerous D-rank missions, and their training has been going well. So, I believe it's time to try taking on higher ranked missions." Satisfied, Hiruzen nodded and said, "Since that's the case, I'll assign you a C-rank mission to protect someone." As he spoke, he beckoned towards the direction of the adjacent resting room. "Come out, someone has taken your mission." The door to the resting room was pushed open, and an old man with a bottle of alcohol stepped out. "Finally, someone took the mission. But why are they all just kids?" he grumbled. "Especially that short, dumb-looking blonde one. Can he really be a useful ninja?" The old man with a strongly offensive demeanor was none other than Tazuna, the bridge builder from the Land of Waves, as portrayed in the original plot. Within consciousness, now, the Land of Waves arc is finally about to begin. Looking at Tazuna, who concealed the true information while holding a bottle of alcohol, Case waved his hand and opened his system panel. Host. Case corruption level. 15,000 main personality trust reliance level. 40 mastered ninjutsu. Seduction technique, shadow clone technique, cage level to jutsu, one-tailed chakra mode, multiple shadow clone technique. After more than a month, the trust and reliance level had slowly risen back to 40. The corruption level should have been over 18,000, but it stopped increasing due to the countless scoldings Naruto received while roaming Konoha. At first, he received quite a few points, but towards the end, he was scolded so much that Naruto became completely immune to it, and the vicious curses no longer triggered his emotions. That's why when Tazuna insulted Naruto, he didn't get angry and curse back. The decrease of over 3,000 in corruption points was all exchanged by Case for physical techniques that could be used by a ninja. However, most of the techniques were from mid-level shinobi who were on duty within the village, and there were only 3 Chunin-level shinobi that he had met: Kakashi, Asuma, and Kurenai. The continuous accumulation also allowed Case's originally elite Chunin level to jutsu to successfully upgrade to cage level to jutsu. Although he had cage level to jutsu, his strength was comparable to that of an ordinary elite Chunin without activating the one-tailed chakra mode. After all, he hadn't encountered Might Guy, who was skilled into jutsu. Otherwise, his strength would have increased even further. Moreover, Case had been eyeing Might Guy's 8 Gates release for a long time. To put it bluntly, with the 8 gates release, Kei's cage level to jutsu would be able to unleash power beyond that of a regular Chunin. Furthermore, the one-tailed chakra mode he exchanged for was the yang-based chakra of the 9 tails. The damage to the body caused by the 8 gates release could basically be treated and repaired using this yang-based chakra. Suppressing his thoughts, Kei's turned his gaze back to the corruption points. Now that the plot is starting, I might as well use the remaining corruption points. With that said, Kei's reached out and selected the ninjutsu stored in the system. Exchange 3-tailed chakra mode, Yang, 12,000 exchange flying rage and technique 3,000 current corruption level. 0 because he had previously exchanged for the 1-tailed chakra mode. The cost of the 3-tailed chakra mode was reduced from 14,000 to 12,000. As for the exchange of Flying Thunder God, it was because Kei's was about to start implementing the plan. After exchanging for the 3-tailed chakra mode and the Flying Rage and technique, Kei's corruption level reached 0. Meanwhile, outside, the members of Team 7, who had successfully received the mission, had packed their bags and gathered at the village gate with Tazuna. With Kakashi's command, they set off. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, who had never stepped outside the village before, began their journey towards the Land of Waves. The entire ninja world has 5 major countries and countless small countries, and the vast majority of these countries have their own large or small ninja villages, walking along an uneven path in the forest. Kakashi was enlightening Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura about the common knowledge of various countries in the ninja world. This was knowledge that wasn't taught in ninja school textbooks, and could only be learned from the team leaders during missions. Just as they were talking and approaching a small puddle up ahead. Except for Naruto, who was still excited, and Tazuna, who was deep in thought. Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura all discreetly glanced at the puddle. Sakura was about to grab Naruto, who hadn't noticed anything, to say something when Sasuke stopped her with his eyes. He signaled her to move closer to Tazuna to protect him. Meanwhile, Sasuke quietly reached for shuriken in his waist pouch. As for Kakashi, he looked up and glanced at the trees beside him, calmly closing the book in his hand. As the group passed by the puddle, 2 heads wearing diving masks emerged from the water. But before they could make their next move, Sasuke, who was walking ahead, suddenly stopped and turned around. At the same time, he inflated his cheeks, holding a completed hand seal in his hand. Fire release, Great Fireball Jutsu. A massive fireball burst forth, heading straight for the 2 ninjas in the water. We've been discovered, quick, dodge. 2 exclamations rang out as the 2 ninjas in the puddle swiftly jumped out. Unfortunately, the sudden fire release was too fast, and the legs of the 2 barely escaping ninjas were burned by the flames. Before they could cry out in pain, a gust of wind rushed towards them from behind the dissipating flames. After the dispersal of the enormous fireball, a whip-like kick loomed large before their eyes. In the next second, their heads were struck, and with stars in their eyes, they fell backwards to the ground. HMPH, not even worth a challenge. Sasuke stood proudly, his face filled with disdain. The sun was shining overhead, and there were no traces of rain on the road, yet suddenly, a small puddle appeared. This kind of trick had been used by Kakashi on them too many times during their month-long practical training. It could only fool Naruto, that idiot who gets excited so easily. We're under attack. Naruto, who was slow to react, finally turned around. Seeing the puddle on the ground that he had overlooked, he immediately understood what was happening. His face, previously filled with joy, collapsed, and he angrily ran towards Sasuke. These brats are unexpectedly reliable. Seeing the 2 enemy combatants lying unconscious on the ground, Tazuna, who was nearby, also breathed a sigh of relief, his suspended heart finally easing. Kakashi, at the front, furrowed his brows slightly, but quickly regained his usual expression. He turned his head and glanced at Tazuna and Sakura beside him, then lifted his foot and walked towards Sasuke. Suddenly, the voice of Kei's echoed in Naruto's mind. Naruto, prepare the multiple shadow clone jutsu seals. Sakura and Tazuna are in danger. Upon hearing this, Naruto's running footsteps faltered. What? Sakura is in danger, sensing the malice emanating from the trees behind Sakura Kei's side and admonished him. You fool, keep a natural expression and don't show any flaws. There are people in the trees behind Sakura and Tazuna, following them since they left the village. Now they're getting closer, probably intending to attack. Don't startle them and make them retreat. With a thick malice towards Team 7, Kei's knew without a doubt that they were members of Root, under Danzo's command. After scolding from Kei's, Naruto immediately understood and continued walking towards Sasuke. But in his mind, he couldn't help but ask, what should we do now? Will they hurt Sakura and Uncle Tazuna? Oh, so now you remember there's an Uncle Tazuna. Kei's was somewhat exhausted by Naruto's lack of comprehension and comforted him. There are 6 enemies, not very strong, probably at the level of Chunin. I believe Kakashi has already noticed. If you're still worried, you can let me come out. If Sakura didn't have any future use, Kei's wouldn't have bothered to care at all. No, there's no need. I can handle a few Chunin alone. Upon hearing that they were just a few Chunin, Naruto instantly relaxed. It wasn't boasting, he could easily take on 10 like Mizuki. And why specifically 10? Well, because he could create 100 shadow clones, so 10 against 1 would guarantee victory. Let's hope so. Kei's shook his head and didn't say anything more. Just when Kakashi and Naruto were far away from Sakura and Tazuna, the 6 masked ninjas finally stopped hiding. They transformed into 6 residual images and swiftly burst out from behind the trees. They seized Sakura, who was standing in front of the forest, unaware. So, you finally decided to show up. Kakashi, who was originally heading towards Sasuke, instantly turned around and threw the shuriken he had prepared long ago. Sakura, I'm here to save you. Naruto, who was already prepared, also turned around and used the multiple shadow clone technique. In an instant, nearly 100 clones appeared, even pushing forward in front of Sakura and Tazuna under Naruto's control. Sasuke, who was farthest away, reacted the slowest but quickly rushed over. Damn, we've been discovered. No need to capture them alive, eliminate them on the spot. The 6 root ninjas didn't expect to be discovered as soon as they revealed themselves. They immediately withdrew their hands, which were reaching for Sakura, to block Kakashi's shuriken. Then, 5 of them charged towards Kakashi and Naruto to buy time, while one of them rushed towards Sakura and Tazuna. Their original mission was to capture Sakura, who Naruto cares about, as bait to lure Naruto to their headquarters. Now that their original mission was no longer possible, they had to change it to eliminating Sakura, and attempting to make Naruto go berserk, and lose control of the Nine Tails power. Once the Nine Tails power went out of control, Danzo would have another chance to reveal himself openly and cause mischief. They could even take revenge on Hiruzen Sarutobi. Unfortunately, the root members who were confined to their base in Konoha made a mistake in their intelligence. They had no idea about the changes in the power of Team 7 over the past month. They thought Sakura was just a genin and could be easily defeated with 1 or 2 moves. The root ninja who rushed towards Sakura first threw shuriken to block Sakura's movements. Then, with lightning-fast speed, he swung a prepared kunai to strike her throat. Sakura, who had already fought Kakashi multiple times, instantly reacted. While bending backward to dodge the attack, she kicked the opponent's shin for a counterattack. She also used her hand to push Tazuna, who was petrified behind her. Tazuna, run quickly. Tazuna immediately reacted as well and understood that he was only a burden. He turned around and ran. The 5 root ninjas who were delaying the time were in the same situation. As soon as they charged forward, they were tightly entangled by numerous clones, and had no time to stop Kakashi. Seeing that their mission was impossible to accomplish and that they were about to fail, the root ninja facing Sakura showed a determined expression. Then, he took out nearly 10 explosive tags from his body and activated them, disregarding the attacks, and rushed towards Sakura. For our leader, let's die together. Sakura. Seeing this scene, Naruto's eyes instantly turned bloodshot. His group of clones also immediately gave up on the other 5, and rushed towards Sakura. At the same time, Kei's, who was aware of the situation, received a system message. The main personality's emotions have reached the critical point. The host can switch at any time. On the other side, Kakashi, who was closest to the scene, also had a cold expression on his face. He no longer intended to test the strength of these ninjas, and use them as a means to buy time. Lowering his mask, revealing his Sharingan, he quickly formed the hand seals for Rikiri, Chidori, in his hand. He wanted to use the speed of Rikiri to intercept them. However, time was ultimately too short. The root ninja had no intention of staying alive. Therefore, the explosive tags in their hands activated at an extremely fast speed. In just a blink of an eye, a tremendous explosion echoed through the sky. Boom. The explosion had the power equivalent to 10 hand grenades, instantly creating a large crater in front of them. The raised dust and smoke obscured the surrounding visibility. The smoke and dust quickly settled and dissipated. The scene that appeared before Kakashi and Sasuke made their eyes widen in astonishment. They saw Sakura, who was supposed to perish with the root ninja, being held in the hands of Naruto. His body was emanating a faint golden chakra. Naruto, no, it's not you, it's Kazekyo. Naruto's body was enveloped in a faint golden chakra. And Sakura was being held by the collar, not embraced. So Kakashi and Sasuke quickly understood who the person in front of them was. The worry and self-blame on their faces dissipated, and they let out a long sigh of relief. His name was called out by Kakashi, casually waved the unharmed Sakura in his hand, showing no reaction. Then he casually threw her on the ground. Thank you for saving me. Although she was thrown on the ground like trash, without any tenderness or consideration, Sakura didn't dare to complain. She immediately got up and bowed to express her gratitude. When she was held and couldn't break free earlier, she thought she was doomed and closed her eyes in despair. Unexpectedly, at the critical moment, Kase came out and kicked away the enemy who had grabbed her. Moreover, he had that cool golden chakra on him, and his hairstyle and demeanor were much cooler than Naruto's original ones. He was like a version of Naruto that surpassed Sasuke, no, even cooler than Sasuke. It's a pity that she was held in his hand, if she had been carried princess style. Thinking of this, Sakura's face instantly turned red, and she bent down, and didn't dare to lift her body. To be honest, she felt herself starting to like Naruto's powerful and reassuring alter ego. Sasuke, who followed right behind Kakashi, looked at the faint golden chakra on Kaze's body with suspicion. Is this same golden chakra the Nine Tails chakra? No, it's completely different from the evil and violent feeling before, but rather a gentle sensation. Sasuke's perception was accurate, and Kase gave him an appreciative look. No wonder Orochimaru took an interest in him. His ninja qualities and talents were excellent. It's just a pity that his heart is not firm, and he keeps changing his thoughts and lacks self-awareness. This led to him being like a double-faced clown in the original plot. Kakashi also looked at Kase with a complicated expression. Thank you, luckily you appeared in time, or else I would have lost my cute student due to my carelessness. Kakashi originally thought that Danzo would only target himself and Naruto. He didn't think he would go all out against unrelated personnel. It's no wonder the Hokage reminded him to be cautious of Danzo after leaving the village. And your strength and utilization of Nine Tails chakra, it's only been a little over a month, your talent is terrifying. Thinking of Kaze's speed when he appeared earlier, Kakashi couldn't help but be amazed. His Sharingan could barely keep up, and Kase was even faster than when he used Rikiri. If he were to fight Kase now, he wouldn't be surprised if he lost. Naruto, who was replaced by Kase in consciousness, also noticed the faint golden Nine Tails chakra, along with Kakashi and Sasuke. Wow. Kase, how did your Nine Tails chakra change like this? It's completely different from before, now it's powerful and cool, and there's no bad aura. Can you teach me? If I can be like this, Sakura will definitely give up on Sasuke and fall for me. The continuous questions in his mind and out loud made Kase's head ache a bit, so he coldly explained. Before, because it was towards enemies, I didn't bother to remove the aura attached to the Nine Tails chakra. That's how it is. Kase wasn't lying or making excuses. The Nine Tails chakra was red, but when the impure aura attached to it was removed, the pure chakra turned golden. He didn't understand the principle behind it, but maybe it looked cooler this way. However, he actually preferred the original Nine Tails chakra, with its unrestrained and sinister aura that made him feel comfortable. Seeing that the others still wanted to ask more, Kase grew impatient and pointed towards the distance. Stop asking pointless questions. I'm really irritated right now. Danzo had been causing trouble again and again, which infuriated Kase. He was preparing to exchange for another wave of power, after the mission in the Land of Waves is completed. Then, according to Danzo's wish, he will let Naruto go to the route and have some fun. On the other side, taking advantage of everyone's attention no longer being on them, the root ninjas quietly retreated to the base of the trees. When they saw Kase pointing at them, they immediately stopped sneaking around and dispersed. Knowing Kase's strength well, they fled in 5 different directions, planning to survive as many as they could. Seeing them running away, Kakashi, with a stern face, intended to chase after them but was stopped by Kase. I love playing hide and seek the most. Don't disturb my excitement, understand? The menacing look and killing intent on Kase's face made Kakashi feel a chill all over his body. Without saying much, he obediently stayed in place. In his consciousness, Naruto seemed to sense Kase's thoughts and asked hurriedly, Kase, are you planning to kill them with cruel methods again? You can't do that. They're just trying to complete their mission. Kei's coldly chuckled without saying a word. His body suddenly turned into an illusion and disappeared on the spot. Naruto's subconscious mind was defenseless against him. If he really didn't want those people to die, he could naturally regain control of the body. But now, deep down in Naruto's subconscious, he clearly wished for those people to die. Speaking these words was clearly to establish an alibi, to shift the blame for those people's deaths onto him, and reduce the burden on himself. At the same time, Kei's could also sense Naruto's subconscious control and suppression. He knew very well that once those people died, Naruto would immediately regain control of the body, and severely criticize and suppress him. But so what? If Naruto treated him kindly, he might feel a bit bad for killing Naruto. Swoosh. 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 Just as Naruto finished speaking, all 5 fleeing individuals were kicked out of the woods. 4 of them had their limbs severed by sharp blades, leaving only their torsos lying on the ground in agonizing pain. Kei's calmly descended from the trees. On the tips of his 3 golden fox tails, there were still traces of dripping blood. Monster. Demon fox. If you have the guts, kill us. The only surviving root ninja shouted at Fukushin as if he had seen a devil, his voice hoarse and desperate. So noisy. Kei's coldly clenched his fist, cracking his knuckles. The foxtails behind him rose like sword blades, aiming at the root ninja. And in an instant, they pierced out like lightning. The root ninja's arms on both sides were instantly pierced and torn apart. But the wounds mysteriously didn't bleed. Leaving one to deliver the message, having both legs should be enough. As he spoke, a strand of pale golden chakra separated and turned red like fresh blood, giving an ominous feeling. This blood red condensed into a thin thread, and quickly connected the 4 torsos and the legs of the root ninja. After completing all this, Kei's foxtails curled up again. In an instant, the root ninja was swept into the woods. The connected torsos on the ground were dragged like kites, suspended in midair. Get lost. When you go back, make sure to have Danzo clean up his behind, lest my feet get dirty when I kick his ass. Wow, so fast, so strong, so fierce. And this time it's 3 tails. Kakashi and the others who witnessed this scene were taken aback. Compared to before, when he had only 1 tail, the Kei's with 3 tails was unbelievably fast, almost inhumanly so. His power had clearly reached a whole new level compared to before. Moreover, his actions and tone were far from simply delivering a message. It was clearly meant to humiliate and provoke Danzo. Killing the root ninjas would have been enough, but returning the bodies with a message. This had truly planted an unending vendetta. Kakashi could even imagine the infuriated expression on Danzo's face. After this, he probably wouldn't be Danzo's most hated person anymore. Naruto would take his place. In Naruto's mind. As soon as Kei's finished his actions, Naruto's voice rang out. Kei's, you've broken your promise and killed mercilessly again. But this time, I'll forgive you because it was to save Sakura. However, you must teach me how to control the power of the 9 tails. Since you have already mastered 3 tails, you must know the method. Kei's rolled his eyes speechlessly and immediately returned control of its body. The faint golden chakra of the 9 tails disappeared, and his cold gaze returned to a clear and foolish expression. Seeing that Kei's ignored him, Naruto became anxious and continued pleading in his heart. I'm not asking for much, just let me control 1 tail. Please, Kei's, I really want to become stronger and protect you and everyone outside. Upon hearing Naruto's words, Kei's finally replied with a somewhat annoyed tone. If you want to become stronger, then train hard. Besides, I've already explained to you that I don't know any method. It's a matter of innate talent. It's because I endure the painful memories you forcibly give me every day that I can easily control it. Understand? Saying this, Kei's wore a contemptuous smirk on its face. If you exchange your identity with me for a month and bear those memories as my alter ego, I guarantee you'll immediately gain control of at least 1 tail. So, what do you say? Willing to do it? Naruto certainly didn't want to. What if after the exchange, Kei's refused to switch back? That would be a disaster. He didn't want to endure those painful memories every day. It was much worse than just being scolded. But Naruto couldn't help but ask, is there really no other way? Of course, Kei's had another way, but he was still considering whether to tell Naruto. Although Naruto gaining control of the 9 tails chakra would enhance his strength, it would reduce Kei's opportunities and Naruto's reliance on him. After some thought, Kei's decided to reveal it, but kept Naruto hanging. Yes, there is. You mentioned it before, and I've been researching it ever since. I now have some clues. But your words just now made me uncomfortable, so I'm considering suspending my research. Upon hearing that Kase really had a solution, Naruto immediately pleaded. I was wrong, it was all my fault. Please don't stop. Please. In the future, I won't mind if you want to kill enemies, but please don't be so merciless. It's better if they die without suffering. HMPH, we'll see, Kase coldly snorted and stopped talking. Not allowing cruel torture. Yet whenever he tortured enemies, his side would receive a boost in corruption. When he read the original story, how did he not notice Naruto's inconsistency between his words and actions? He seemed like such a hypocrite. Shaking his head, Kase ignored Naruto's pleas and looked at the system panel. Current trust and dependence value of the main personality. 51, will not decrease below 30 current corruption value. 3000 once it reached 50, I can switch personalities voluntarily. And now there's even a more specific display. Kase was somewhat surprised, but the surprise quickly dissipated. This more specific display also meant that he had greater control over his body. And the unchangeable 30 value indicated that even if he killed someone close to Naruto, he would still have that much trust and dependence, just like Naruto's feelings towards Sasuke in the original storyline. Naruto always wanted to bring him back and never saw him as an enemy. Of course, this value of 30 was probably not enough to compare to Sasuke. Doubling it to 60 would be more accurate. Kase looked at the newly increased corruption value and chuckled coldly. Ha, gaining 3000 corruption value and trust and dependence, you really are a little bitch, Naruto. While Naruto's main personality was communicating inside, time within that space would automatically slow down. So the exchange that just took place seemed long, but in reality, only a few breaths had passed outside. Seeing the return of Naruto's main personality, the chilling and terrifying aura disappeared. Sakura, who had been bowing her head, finally looked up, her flushed face returning to normal. Kakashi and Sasuke let out a sigh of relief. Compared to Kase, who put them under immense pressure and was unfamiliar, it was easier to communicate with the innocent Naruto. Is everyone okay? Kakashi glanced at everyone and spoke. Although I made a mistake this time, you should now understand the horrors of ninja battles, right? As your team leader, I can't protect you all the time, nor will I do so. So after this mission, those who want to quit can apply to do so. It's not bad to live as ordinary people. Boring, Sasuke said with a cold expression as he turned around. Nothing is dangerous until I kill that person. Naruto also ended his inner plea and waved his hand repeatedly, indicating that he was not afraid of danger. Only Sakura remained silent, her face filled with inner conflict. You can think about it carefully and talk to me privately after the mission, Kakashi said, looking deeply at Sakura, before heading towards the captured Miss Shinobi in the distance. On the other side, Tazuna, who had run far away, was pale and trembling. The scene of Naruto losing control just now left a lasting impression on him. So this is what a ninja is. He nervously wiped away the non-existent sweat from his forehead and looked at Naruto with fear in his eyes. Even the likes of Geto, who dominated their country of waves, would never resort to such brutal methods. Especially when he was in the village hidden in the leaves, he even insulted Naruto. And now, no one paid attention to him or the information he had hidden about these ninja. Tazuna felt that he was probably doomed. With that in mind, Tazuna gritted his teeth and rushed towards Naruto and the others. When he got closer, he didn't hesitate to kneel down. Noble ninjas, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have talked big, and I shouldn't have hidden the information, but I had my reasons. Our country of waves is oppressed by Geto. Tazuna exaggeratedly described Geto's misdeeds, adding more misery to his story. He hoped that even if these ninja didn't continue the mission, they would spare him considering his pitiful state. After listening to Tazuna's account, however, 2 of them had taken the opportunity to escape during the previous attack, and the remaining one remained silent. In the end, Kakashi decided to return to the village immediately with the group. After all, with several Chunin participating, this mission was at least a B-rank mission. However, Naruto empathized with Tazuna's tragic situation and hoped to continue the mission. Sasuke also agreed, not wanting to give up this opportunity for growth. After all, high-level missions were not available every day in the current peaceful times. After a final discussion, the group set foot on the road to the Land of Waves. At the deepest part of the Death Forest, beneath the Root's headquarters, a series of footsteps disrupted the quietness of the vast underground base. Danzo, standing in the middle of an open space, furrowed his brow upon hearing the sound behind him and turned around. In his line of sight stood the root shinobi whose arms had been severed earlier, accompanied by a torso being dragged behind him. "You're still alive." Danzo's voice was cold and devoid of emotion. "The mission failed. The target is still alive. That Kazekyo has reappeared and can now control 3 tails," the armless root shinobi reported, his forehead dripping with sweat, a sign of his inner turmoil. "I'm asking why you're still alive," Danzo interrupted his report, his eyes filled with chilling coldness. "Kazekyo asked me to deliver a message to you," the armless shinobi's voice trembled. Although he had undergone rigorous training in the root, he didn't want to die. "He said he told me to clean up your ass so that his feet doesn't get dirty when he kicks it." After uttering those words, the armless shinobi knew that he had no chance of survival. He stood up abruptly, turned his head, and slammed it against the nearby wall. "For the sake of Danzo-sama, for the sake of Root," he shouted with unwavering loyalty as he crashed into the wall. Witnessing the loyal subordinate sacrifice, Danzo's expression softened somewhat. "Ninjas must be willing to sacrifice themselves. If they all die, how can you continue to live alone?" he muttered. "Rest assured, my good child. I will avenge you." With a wave of his hand towards the darkness, Danzo turned around to contemplate his next move. However, as soon as he turned, he noticed a thin, blood-red thread emanating from the corpse of the armless shinobi, and extending from behind. In an instant, the blood-red thread floated in front of the corpse, transforming into the 3-tailed chakra mode of Kazekyo. After scanning the surroundings, Kazekyo charged directly towards the unsuspecting Danzo from behind. "He's the Jinchuriki. Watch out behind you, Danzo-sama." The root shinobi, who had just emerged from the darkness to deal with the corpse, turned around in an attempt to protect Danzo. But his speed was no match for the speed of Kazekyo in his 3-tailed chakra mode. In the blink of an eye, Kazekyo appeared behind Danzo. Upon hearing the shout, Danzo turned his head with a look of shock and anger, only to see a face right in front of him. "Naruto, no, it's Kazekyo," he exclaimed. "Yes, have you cleaned your ass?" Danzo didn't answer, but instead quickly distanced himself from Kazekyo. He swiftly formed hand seals, intending to eliminate this shadow clone. Although it was just a chakra-formed clone, its speed was not much different from the original. As Danzo lifted his foot, he felt a powerful kick to his rear end. "You bastard." Danzo stumbled from the kick, his cheeks bulging with anger. In the next moment, he expelled a series of high-pressure wind bullets from his mouth, which shot through the air towards Kazekyo. Facing the attack, Kazekyo had no intention of defending or dodging. With a mocking grin on his face, he said, "Old dog, you better not leave your house this week, or others might see your menstrual blood." As the words fell, the high-pressure wind bullets pierced through Kazekyo. Puff. The sound of a bursting balloon echoed, and Kazekyo vanished into a burst of smoke. "Damn it, what the hell is this chaos about?" Seeing Kazekyo disappear decisively, Danzo's face darkened to the extreme. Did he send a clone all the way here just to kick him? Before Danzo could understand, he heard the voice of the subordinate again. "Sir, behind you, there's a blood-red footprint." Upon hearing this, Danzo immediately took off his outer robe. But when he looked, there was no blood-red footprint on the robe at all. "Sir, the footprint is still there, it didn't come off with your clothes." Feeling that he couldn't explain it clearly, the ninja's subordinate formed hand seals and created a water screen in the air. Through the reflection on the water screen, Danzo clearly saw the blood-red footprint on his buttocks. Without hesitation, he took off another piece of clothing. As expected, the footprint didn't come off as stated, it appeared on the next layer of clothing. "Uzumaki Kazekyo, you're good." Danzo, with a face as black as coal, didn't continue undressing. This was clearly the 9 tails chakra attached to his body. No wonder the clone became ethereal before even coming into contact with the high-pressure wind bullet. It could be said that it was not very damaging but highly insulting. After instructing the subordinate to continue with the mission, he quickly left the open space. On the other side, in Gato's cabin in the woods, the missing Kurigakure ninja was now respectfully reporting to Zabuza. Jonin from Konoha, white hair, wearing a mask, revealing only one eye, and 3 genin brats. Based on the received information, Zabuza frowned. If he guessed correctly, this white-haired person should be the legendary copy ninja, Kakashi Haddock. The enemy is somewhat unexpected. Zabuza felt that enemies of this level should be paid more. Before he could go find Gato, the door was forcefully pushed open. "You idiot, your men screwed up." Accompanied by 2 bodyguards, Gato angrily pointed at Zabuza. "I paid a hefty price, so you better send stronger ninjas." After hearing Gato's words, Zabuza instantly swung his large sword, tightly gripping it. A head spattered with blood soared high into the air. What the hell are you doing? Gato was terrified by Zabuza's swift action. Us Kurigakure ninja either succeed in our mission or die. Even if it's due to receiving incorrect information, the failed person must die. Zabuza retrieved his sword and glanced sideways at the stunned Gato. I won't hold you responsible for the incorrect information, and I will personally take care of it later. But now, we need to renegotiate the price. What? Upon hearing about the price, Gato instantly snapped out of his daze and became furious. Angry, he rushed towards Zabuza, pointing his finger at his nose and cursing. You bastard. I've given you enough money, what else do you want to negotiate? Zabuza didn't say a word. Haku, standing behind him, swiftly moved and grabbed Gato's arm. Snap. Ah. The sound of bones breaking accompanied Gato's screams. I agree to increase the payment, I agree. The next morning, after a day of rushing on the road, the members of Team 7, along with Tazuna, finally arrived in the Land of Waves. With the help of the early morning mist and their contact person, they didn't encounter any more enemies, and safely set foot on the territory of the Land of Waves. Just as they left the port and took a few steps, Kakashi sighed silently. Then he quietly walked to the middle of Tazuna and Naruto. I wonder if Sasuke and Sakura will be able to deal with him. He muttered to himself. As for Naruto, Kakashi completely ignored him. After all, he had an alter ego to take care of things, so Naruto didn't need to worry about him. In the front, within the thickets of trees, Zabuza watched the group from a distance with narrowed eyes. Indeed, it's Kakashi, the copy ninja. Those two idiots deserved their defeat. As one of the second batch of 7 ninja swordsmen who emerged from the blood mist, Zabuza wasn't afraid. Instead, he felt the excitement of a hunter encountering its desired prey. After being chased by the hidden mist pursuit force for so long, he needed to vent and establish his reputation. After all, the pursuit force consisted of many individuals, but there was no one famous in the ninja world for him to use as a stepping stone. As long as he took down Kakashi, there would be no more fools like Haku to question his abilities. Behind Zabuza, Haku, wearing the hidden mist mask, sensed Zabuza's killing intent and quickly approached to inquire. Lord Zabuza, shall we take action now? No rush. Zabuza raised his hand to stop Haku. Kakashi is not an ordinary person. He might have already noticed us. We should remain calm for now. He's probably planning to test the abilities of these 3 middle-ranking shinobi under his command. Saying this, Zabuza sneered contemptuously. But it doesn't matter. He will soon pay the price for his arrogance. Looking at Kakashi and his group getting closer and closer, about to reach them, Zabuza spoke again. I'll go out and greet them first. Afterwards, we'll follow our usual battle plan. Understand? Haku nodded. Having been involved in battles with Zabuza for a long time, he naturally understood what it meant. Basically, Zabuza would engage in battle first, while Haku would disguise himself as a member of the hidden mist pursuit force and pretend to fight alongside Zabuza. And when the time came to strike, he would suddenly turn against the enemy, catching them off guard. The method seemed simple, but due to the masks of the pursuit force, it was foolproof. After all, everyone knew that the renegade Zabuza was being pursued by the hidden mist. Swish. The sound of a blade cutting through the air came from among the trees. Seeing that Kakashi and the others didn't react, Kakashi immediately pressed down on Naruto and Tazuna next to him and shouted, "Get down." Sasuke and Sakura, who were always on high alert, almost instantly crouched down upon hearing the sound. Clang. The spinning decapitating great sword embedded itself into the tree trunk in front, just inches away from their hair. Then, a blur flashed, and Zabuza stood on the hilt of the sword. It's you. Zabuza Mamachi, the demon of the hidden mist. Kakashi furrowed his brows. He didn't expect this mission to escalate from C rank to B rank, and now it had escalated to A rank. I didn't expect the famous Kakashi to actually know about me. Well, I'll give you a chance. Hand over that old man, and I'll let you go. Before Kakashi could respond, Naruto shouted angrily. No way. You ambushed us, and now you want us to hand over poor Uncle Tazuna. You're a bad person. While scolding Zabuza, Naruto was also inwardly complaining about Case. Case. How could you not warn me when it was so dangerous just now? If it weren't for Kakashi-sensei, I would have had my forehead sliced off by that terrifying giant sword. Haha. Case's disdainful laughter sounded. I thought after what happened yesterday, you would have some backbone and not come asking for my help so soon. I didn't expect you to become indifferent so quickly. Since that's the case, why don't you just give your body to me, and I'll come out and help you kill him. Kei's mocking and ambiguous tone made Naruto's face turn red. I already apologized to you, what else do you want from me? It's just wrong to resort to cruel methods of killing, and I didn't say anything wrong. If you won't help, then we, Team 7, can handle him ourselves. Seeing Naruto stubbornly sticking to his position, Kei's mocking voice rang out again. Well, that's hard to say. Your opponent is not any worse than Kakashi. Are you really not going to let me come out? Without me, you're utterly useless. You can't protect anything. Or perhaps, you actually want someone else to get hurt first, and then be forced to lose control and let me out. If that's the case, I understand your thinking. After all, being forced to let me out would be a good excuse for yourself. Naruto's face turned completely red after being spoken to like that. His inner thoughts and the painful parts he didn't want to expose were suddenly laid bare. He was angry and retorted to Kei's, "No, I am your opposite. I have the same talent as you, and I'm not inferior to you. Watch and see, even without you, I will protect my comrades and save Uncle Gato. And in the end, I'll surpass you, become stronger, become the Hokage, and make everyone recognize me." The inner dialogue also intensified Naruto's anger on the outside. The main personality being inferior to the alter ego was something Naruto didn't want to bring up, a point he selectively forgot. Naruto didn't know what kind of whim Kei's had to bring up these topics so openly. Wasn't he afraid that I will never let him out again? Main personality trust dependency. 52%. Although he disagreed verbally, his internal agreement was reflected on the panel. HMPH, a noisy little brat who only dares to yell. Seeing Naruto's lack of response, Zabuza was filled with disdain. In the next moment, Zabuza disappeared instantly. When they reappeared, Zabuza was in front of Tazuna, who was surrounded by everyone. The large sword in his hand swung down heavily. So fast. Faster than Kakashi-sensei's speed in actual combat. The elite jutsu of body flicker at the Jonin level made Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura pale. They couldn't react in time. Clang. The three of them couldn't react, but Kakashi was already prepared. He crossed his two kunai in front of him, and firmly caught the blade that was less than 10 centimeters away from Tazuna. Kakashi, you're indeed not an ordinary person. Ignoring Zabuza's praise, Kakashi forced him back with a single strike. Then he pulled down his mask, revealing his scarlet Sharingan with 3 tomo. At the same time, he reached out and stopped Naruto and Sasuke, who were ready to join the fight. Now, we'll work as a team. Arrange yourselves to protect Mr. Tazuna, and leave this to me. Since Kakashi had already revealed his Sharingan during their previous battle and had briefly explained it to Sasuke on the way, it didn't surprise the three of them. Upon hearing the mention of teamwork, Naruto and Sasuke obediently stepped back. Together with Sakura, they took on a triangular formation and protected Tazuna, keeping him away from the battlefield. I didn't expect to witness the legendary Sharingan so soon, but we can't let the mission target get away. Zabuza didn't chase after the now distant Tazuna, but instead performed hand seals to create a water clone. He believed that Kakashi wouldn't stop him since his subordinates needed to gain experience. Just as Zabuza had anticipated, Kakashi completely ignored the water clone and kept his eyes fixed on him. Once the water clone left, both of them disappeared from their original positions almost simultaneously. They turned into 2 indiscernible shadows, engaging in a fierce and fast-paced battle. On the other side, as they watched the water clone of Zabuza casually approaching, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura tightened their grip on their kunai, their faces filled with vigilance. Zabuza, on the other hand, showed no signs of nervousness. They were just 3 rookies who had recently reached the Chunin level, and a water clone was more than enough to deal with them. Even if there were any unexpected situations, Haku would ensure that everything returned to its original course. Feeling Zabuza's disdain, Naruto couldn't help but want to rush forward and take the lead. Damn it, it's just a shadow clone, don't be so arrogant. But as soon as he took a step forward, Sasuke held him back. Don't go solo, he's dangerous. And that killing intent that's almost as strong as the one inside you, Kazekyo, can attest to that. If Sasuke hadn't experienced the killing intent and pressure brought by Kei's, he would have frozen in place and embarrassed himself. I also sense it. Sakura, who hadn't spoken for a while, chimed in. Since yesterday, after experiencing some unusual emotions towards Kazekyo, she felt that she had betrayed Sasuke and couldn't face Naruto either. But now, with a great enemy before them, she couldn't help but look at Naruto. Why don't we let Kase know and have him be ready to back us up? No. Naruto immediately rejected Sakura's suggestion. But he quickly realized that his tone was not good and hurriedly explained. I don't want to rely too much on Kase. I want to defeat the enemy by myself. Sakura obviously didn't think this was an explanation. She thought Naruto was being stubborn. Naruto, don't mess around at a time like this. He's an opponent who can rival Kakashi-sensei. Only with Kase's support can we fight with peace of mind. Sakura's lack of trust in him and her admiration for Kase made Naruto even more uncomfortable. Kase and I are one. If he can do it, so can I. I'm not inferior to him. If it was before the 5-element seal, Naruto wouldn't need Kase this time. He could win using his 9 tails chakra alone. Unfortunately, all the chakra leaked by the 9 tails had been sealed off. Apart from him, Naruto had no other means of power to rely on. You guys are really arrogant, thinking highly of yourselves, huh? Seeing Naruto and the others ignoring him and chatting away, Zabuza couldn't help but smile mockingly. Don't think you're ninjas just because you're wearing headbands. Only those who have survived life and death situations can be called ninjas. In other words, only those recorded in my registry are considered ninjas. And you, as he spoke, the water clone of Zabuza suddenly disappeared from its original position. He disappeared again. No, he's getting closer. As the three of them exclaimed in surprise, Zabuza's water clone suddenly appeared in front of Naruto, who was at the forefront of the formation. At the same time, a powerful leg whip accompanied by a strong gust of wind swung toward Naruto. You're not even qualified. The sound of the voice and the leg whip landed on Naruto simultaneously. But the expected scene of Naruto being kicked away didn't happen. Naruto, along with Sasuke who swiftly moved forward, managed to block the leg whip with their hands. And Sakura, who was behind them, reacted quickly as well. She pushed Izuna away and, using Naruto and Sasuke's backs as support, she leaped high into the air. Then, with precision, she threw shurikens that sliced through the air, aiming directly at the water clone's head. I've underestimated you little brats, Zabuza said with a hint of surprise, albeit slight. He kicked his leg forcefully once again, causing Naruto and Sasuke in front of him to recoil. Simultaneously, he reached behind and gripped his massive decapitating sword, swinging it toward the sky. All the incoming shurikens were deflected by the swing. You've got plenty more underestimating to do. I advise you to open your registration handbook and write down the names of all the members of our Team 7. Although easily pushed back, Naruto showed no signs of discouragement on his face. Instead, he displayed a great deal of confidence. While shouting, he quietly spoke to the two beside him. Do you remember our cooperation when we fought over the bells? After I finish speaking, I'll immediately use the multiple shadow clone jutsu to surround him, and then Sasuke, you'll do the same as back then. Time was running out, and Naruto didn't finish his sentence. However, after more than a month of team cooperation in real combat, Sasuke and Sakura instantly understood what he meant. Seeing Naruto's arrogant words followed by him being ignored as he quietly discussed with the others, Zabuza's veins bulged on his forehead, and his playful expression vanished from his eyes. You little brats, who play ninja games, are really arrogant. Only because you passed such a lenient graduation exam, you consider yourselves ninjas. As if reminiscing, Zabuza's face was filled with nostalgia and a sickening excitement. What do you mean? Naruto asked angrily. Their graduation exam was difficult too, right? Hearing the exclamation from the front, Zabuza raised his head. The smile disappeared from the gaps between his fingers, leaving only a chilling killing intent in his eyes. The pass rate, no, I mean the survival rate, is less than 1%. Zabuza's words made Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura all gasp as they envisioned the gruesome scenes. As the word landed, Zabuza plunged down at an astonishing speed, almost invisible to the naked eye. But Naruto had already prepared his hand seals during their conversation. Multiple shadow clone jutsu. Nearly 100 Narutos appeared suddenly, surrounding the descending Zabuza. Faced with the numerical advantage, Zabuza showed no sign of retreating. His decapitating sword swung in the air, creating a whirlwind. Haha. Quantity can't make up for the difference in quality. The real ninja who emerges from killing is far beyond your imagination. In just an instant, more than half of the clones were annihilated. As Zabuza's real body was exposed, Sakura held a massive four-cornered shuriken and threw it heavily at Zabuza. Wind Demon Shuriken, Shadow Windmill. The enormous shuriken whistled through the air. Zabuza narrowed his eyes and accurately caught the whistling shuriken. No, there's another shuriken within the shadow. While holding the shuriken, another one immediately separated and cut towards Zabuza's body. Zabuza's other hand, with the decapitating sword, couldn't defend in time, and had to leap up to barely avoid it. But before Zabuza could breathe a sigh of relief, he heard a cold voice coming from behind. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Damn, it's a transformation jutsu. Zabuza's face twisted in a ferocious expression as he turned around. The decapitating sword in his hand swung out, chopping toward the massive fireball. However, it wasn't the real body, and even a slight touch of the fire style's power would cause the clone to collapse. I didn't expect to fall into the hands of these brats. Why isn't Haku taking action? Zabuza's eyes turned to the distant forest, feeling a bit annoyed. However, the sound of 1,000 needles shooting towards him and Haku's voice made his brow relax. Ninja Pursuit Force, exterminate the rogue ninja, Zabuza Mamachi. 1,000 needles shot out, faster than Sasuke's great fireball. Almost at the same time as the sound of impact, Zabuza's water clone was struck. It then turned into a puddle of clear water, splashing onto the ground. The sound and the 3 small needles were all heard and seen clearly. With shock and curiosity, they quickly gathered together. They all looked towards the distant tree trunk, where Haku, wearing the Mist Village mask, stood. Do you guys know what kind of ninja pursuit unit this is? Naruto whispered to Sasuke and Sakura beside him. Sakura shook her head, while Sasuke's expression grew serious, with a hint of caution. Kakashi-sensei told me before. It's a Mist Village unit specialized in hunting down rogue ninjas and retrieving their bodies. Compared to Sakura and Naruto, Kakashi was most concerned with Sasuke, who had the best talent, and taught him more. These were the knowledge that Kakashi mentioned during his individual guidance with Sasuke. Upon hearing Sasuke's explanation, Sakura breathed a sigh of relief. Just now, Kakashi-sensei mentioned that the one called Zabuza is a rogue ninja from the Mist Village. So he must be here to hunt down rogue ninjas and isn't our enemy. Otherwise, with that unexpected projectile, one of us would have definitely been in trouble. In that situation just now, it's hard to say whether Sasuke and Naruto, who were farther away, would have been able to react in time. But Sakura, who was closer to the woods, definitely wouldn't have been able to react. If she was lucky, she would have only been injured if hit non-fatally, but if it hit a vital spot, she would have died on the spot. Experiencing life-threatening situations for 2 consecutive days, Sakura suddenly felt weak in her hands and feet. Her gaze unconsciously turned to Naruto, hoping that his alter ego, Kase, would come out to protect her. Sasuke and Sakura's words also made Naruto let go of his guard. Then, can we cooperate? Excitement filled Naruto's face as he turned his head to glance at the battlefield obscured by thick fog in the distance. Kakashi-sensei is definitely caught in a tough battle. If the 4 of us join forces, we can definitely turn the tide. Just as Naruto finished speaking, a crisp voice picked up where he left off. Although it may be presumptuous, I do want to cooperate with you. In the blink of an eye, Haku appeared in front of the 3 of them. Although they had estimated Haku's strength, his body flicker technique, which was much faster than theirs, still left the 3 of them astonished. The speed of body flicker depends on physical skill and chakra control. His technique was faster than even their Chunin level, his speed was at least at Jonin level. Judging from your appearance, you should be of similar age to us. I didn't expect you to be this fast. Naruto approached somewhat familiarly, but Haku instinctively took a step back, on guard. My mission is to hunt down rogue ninjas, so please don't waste time. Haku's retreat and caution relieved Sasuke and Sakura, who were observing from the side. If he was really an enemy, he would have taken advantage of the opportunity to get closer and launch a surprise attack. But Haku's retreat and caution indicated that he genuinely wanted to cooperate. With the addition of this skilled ally, they could definitely join forces with Kakashi to defeat Zabuza. After understanding the situation, Sasuke spoke up, then let's not waste any more time. We'll take this person with us to support Kakashi-sensei. What about Tazuna-san? Sakura asked. Don't worry about me. Just hurry up and take down the enemy. Tazuna's voice came from the nearby bushes. Seeing that Tazuna agreed as well, the 3 of them, concerned for Kakashi's safety, nodded and rushed into the thick fog. Haku followed immediately, but his hands were positioned behind his back, forming hand seals. Individually, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura weren't particularly strong, but together they could defeat Zabuza's water clone. So, Haku chose not to use his surprise attack. But instead, he prepared to enter the thick fog and incapacitate 2 or all of them. As the four of them entered the range of the thick fog, Sasuke, who was at the back, silently activated his Sharingan, gripping a kunai tightly in his hand. Haku also approached the three of them, his hand forming hand seals behind his back, ready to strike. Suddenly, Sasuke in front abruptly turned around, and the kunai in his hand aimed at the shoulder of Haku's arm behind his back. Clang. The other hand of Haku held the kunai that was coming at him, blocking the attack. "When did you notice?" "I should have hidden better," Haku said, as the sound of their clash and conversation caught the attention of Naruto and Sakura, who were ahead. The two of them quickly approached, watching Haku with vigilance. "What's going on? Why are you fighting Sasuke?" Naruto asked. Sasuke ignored the two of them and smiled lightly, raising his head. "I didn't notice, it's just that you were standing too close, and I vaguely saw one of your hands behind your back. I wasn't sure, so I made a move I didn't expect that you actually had a problem," he continued. Seeing the crimson and black Sharingan in Sasuke's eyes, Haku's voice sounded slightly surprised. "So, it's the Sharingan. No wonder you were able to detect my subtle movements even with the mist technique obstructing them." Although being discovered, Haku showed no signs of frustration. His tone remained calm. "But it doesn't matter. You've already stepped into the range of my jutsu." "Jutsu?" Naruto exclaimed. Swish. Without giving the three of them time to be shocked or question further, numerous giant mirrors made of ice surrounded them from all sides. At the same time, Haku, who was in front of them, took a step back and entered one of the mirrors directly. "Ice Release Secret Technique." "Ice Crystal Magic Mirror," Haku's voice echoed from all directions, while his figure appeared in the mirrors surrounding them. "Ice Release." Sasuke's expression changed. "Get closer together. It's a Kekkei Genkai." It was the knowledge passed on to him by Kakashi during their private training sessions. "What's a Kekkei Genkai?" Naruto and Sakura were somewhat puzzled, but they still pressed their backs against each other. "It's a powerful ninjutsu inherited. I don't want to kill you." "Stop pretending," Naruto interrupted Haku. "Sasuke, Sakura, we've grown stronger. We can rely on our own abilities, just like when we defeated that clone. He's just hiding behind an ice wall. Watch me break it and drag him out." After Naruto spoke, he charged towards the ice wall in front of him. He had already made up his mind not to rely on K's, not even seeking tactical assistance in his mind. He wanted to prove that even without his alter ego, he, as the main personality, could still handle it. "Naruto, don't be impulsive, but it doesn't matter now, the battle is about to end." Ice Release Secret Technique. Annihilation Mirrors. In the midst of the ice wall, as Haku formed a hand seal, the mist within the mirror shattered, abruptly condensed into water in midair. It then transformed into slender ice needles, each as sharp as the 1,000 needles of death. Simultaneously, Haku darted out from the ice surface, moving with incredible speed, weaving in and out between the frozen mirrors. Swift and elusive, his movements left cuts on the bodies of the three individuals within the range. Each time he entered the ice surface, a shard of ice would be carved from the wall, forming additional ice needles that floated alongside the others in the air. "Damn it, I can't keep up with this speed," gasped Sasuke, his body covered in wounds. Sakura, standing behind him, was struggling to remain stable. As Sasuke could barely defend against the attacks, she had almost no means to withstand them. "You bastard. Come out and fight me," Naruto shouted, facing the ice wall. Among the three, Naruto received the least number of attacks. Although his body was also wounded, he still had the strength to strike the wall with his fists. However, each time he shattered a piece of ice, it silently condensed into additional needles in midair. Sasuke noticed this problem and shouted, "Idiot. Don't destroy the ice wall. Quickly escape through that opening." Weakly, Sakura added from behind, "Naruto, stop being stubborn. Do as Sasuke says. Get out and let Kei save us." Ignoring the nearly half-damaged ice wall in front of him, Naruto didn't look back. "Don't call for him. I'll get you out of here right away. Even without him, I can still rely on myself and protect you all. Just hold on a little longer." Sakura and Sasuke's pleas made Naruto feel conflicted. Why couldn't he save them? Why did they have to call for K's every time they faced danger? Why did he have to give up his body? He was Naruto, a member of Team 7. The owner of this body. A comrade they could depend on. Why did they have to look at his face and hope for someone else to appear? In his consciousness, Kei sensed everything and a wide grin spread across his face, revealing his teeth. It was time to give him a push. Naruto, what you can't do I can, give your body to me. Just like what Sasuke and Sakura hoped for. I will come out and protect them for you, complete the mission for you, and respond to their expectations. After all, Kei's voice paused briefly, filled with a sense of satisfaction that Naruto could perceive. They trust me, the reliable Uzumaki Kazekyo. Kei's voice was like pouring oil on fire, pushing Naruto into a state of anger and frustration. No, I'm about to break this ice wall and save them all. They will trust and rely on Uzumaki Naruto even more. As long as I shatter the ice wall and rescue them, as long as, then let me lend you a hand. Kei's smile was filled with malice. He shared his cage-level Taijutsu with Naruto for a split second. Outside. Boom. The ice wall, already partially shattered, instantly crumbled with Naruto's strike. How is this possible? Haku exclaimed in surprise and anger. Although he deliberately allowed Naruto to accumulate 1,000 needles by damaging the ice wall, he didn't expect Naruto to actually break it. What terrifying force had occurred in that moment? It may not be enough, but it will have to do, Haku thought, no longer hesitating. The 1,000 needles that hadn't yet fully condensed in the sky rained down the moment the ice wall shattered. Most of them aimed at Sasuke and Sakura, while a small portion targeted Naruto on the outskirts. At that moment, Naruto, seeing the outside world, turned his head with excitement and shouted, "I did it. I'll get you out." Naruto's words were cut short as the barrage of needles struck him. All the needles pierced his body's vital points. The pain and weakness made it difficult for him to even stand. But more painful than his physical wounds was the anguish in his heart. Sasuke and Sakura, who faced even more attacks ahead, were now lying limp on the ground. Their bodies were riddled with countless ice needles. A large amount of blood continuously gushed out, staining the ground a deep crimson. Naruto could clearly see the needles that penetrated their necks and chests, as well as their lifeless, dull eyes. Just like Toru and the other root shinobi who had died. This can't be happening. It shouldn't be like this. It can't be like this. Along with Naruto's despairing roar, a message from the system arrived. Corruption points plus 25,000 current corruption points. 28,000 Hoshigo trust and reliance. 55, cannot drop below 30. Hoshigo is an emotional collapse, can switch personalities at any time. Receiving the message, Kei's didn't switch immediately. Instead, he applauded Naruto in his mind. Clap, clap, clap. Just as you desired, congratulations on successfully breaking the ice wall. But Naruto's voice of retort didn't sound. With lifeless eyes, he stared at Sakura and Sasuke lying on the ground. He kept muttering, "This isn't how it should be." Kei chuckled and continued calmly, "Naruto, do you know the difference between a king and a pawn? It's not some childish riddle, but about two individuals with the same physical aptitude. Why is one a king and the other a pawn?" Naruto's eyes flicker, but he still doesn't answer. Kei continued, unbothered. "There's only one answer. The king has higher talent, intelligence, and aptitude than the pawn, which is why the king is the master, and the pawn is the support. The king can better explore and utilize their own abilities. The king can protect what they want to protect by any means necessary, and the king can defeat anything they want to defeat without hesitation. But the pawn doesn't have that. They only have mediocrity. They only carry the king to accomplish everything, becoming the king's aide." So, Kei switched personalities and appeared outside. Naruto was forced deep into his consciousness and could only gaze at Kei. "Why should I let a weaker you lead the battle? Why should I let a weaker you into battle?" This sentence echoed constantly in Naruto's mind. He couldn't refute, couldn't retaliate, and couldn't even speak up. It had been nearly 2 months since Kei appeared. But every time they faced danger, it was Kei who protected him. Every time they encountered difficulties, it was Kei who resolved them. And he, the mediocre one, only had the ability to take over the body. So why could the weaker version of him become the king of the body? Hoshigo trust and reliance. 60, cannot drop below 35. Seeing the trust and reliance value that couldn't drop any further increase again, Kei revealed a satisfied smile. Ahead, Haku had already emerged from the ice wall. He held 4 needles formed from ice crystals between his fingers as he approached slowly. He whispered softly, "Don't be sad, they're all fine. They'll be safe once they wake up after a good sleep. If you hadn't suddenly broken the ice wall and caused an insufficient amount, you wouldn't be so heartbroken right now." As he spoke, Haku swiftly stabbed with the 1,000 needles in his hand. His target was the acupoints on Naruto's neck and chest. He didn't like fighting or killing, so his goal was simple. He wanted to injure Naruto and the others, stimulate their acupoints to induce a false death, and deceive Zabuza Mamachi. Many seemingly harmless enemies in the past had been spared in this way. However, crack. What? Haku was shocked and furious as he saw Kaze's arm grabbing onto his descending hand. You were pretending to be devastated and heartbroken just now. In his anger and shock, Haku pulled out another 1000 needle from his waist and stabbed it fiercely toward Kaze's head. But clang. The 1000 needle was blocked by a layer of blood-red chakra. What kind of sinister chakra is this? Without hesitation, Haku immediately tried to retreat. But his arm, which was grabbed, couldn't break free at all. The next moment, splat. The sound of fingers touching flesh resounded. Kaze, who was kneeling on the ground, stood up, lifting Haku by the neck with one hand. You did well just now, and I didn't deceive you either. Kaze raised his head, and his crimson vertical pupils were captivatingly menacing. The mad and ferocious chakra emanating from him made Haku's heart pound. It was as if the person before him was a demon from the depths of hell. You're not him. Who are you, really? Haku, being lifted by the neck, struggled in midair like a chick, finding it exceptionally difficult to speak. Who am I? Kaze grinned, revealing his gleaming white gums. Of course, I am your future master. Swish. The giant cleaver swung, slicing through Kakashi's back, and then disappeared into the thick mist. Kakashi, can your eyes still copy my ninjutsu? Kakashi. Hearing the intense resentment from Zabuza, Kakashi felt speechless. He had only copied a water dragon and a great waterfall technique, but it had already pushed Zabuza to his limit. Moreover, their ninjutsu cancelled each other out, and Kakashi hadn't gained any advantage. Instead, his chakra consumption was a bit high now. I can't copy it anymore, but once you get closer, I can see quite clearly. Shaking off the torn clothes behind, there was no trace of injury or bloodshed. HMPH, you can hold on, but your subordinates must be suffering. The voice of Zabuza contained anger and mockery. Perhaps you don't know, but I have quite formidable subordinates, whose strength is not inferior to mine. I guess by now, your little brat subordinates have all gone extinct, haha. Zabuza let out a sinister laughter that seemed to last for 2.5 years. At the same time, he reappeared and swung his sword at Kakashi's waist. To be honest, I'm more concerned whether your subordinates will end up as complete corpses. Kakashi swiftly dodged Zabuza's attack and took a quick glance at the young Naruto from his waist. I have a monster among my subordinates too, and he finds pleasure in slaughter. Upon hearing Kakashi's nonchalant words, Zabuza didn't believe him in the slightest. Are you talking about the black-haired brat or the pink-haired one? It couldn't be that dim-witted blonde brat, right? Zabuza appeared once again and swung his sword towards Kakashi's hand. Haha, you even have time to read. It seems you truly don't worry at all, just as heartless as us, Miss Shinobi. Kakashi lowered his arm slightly, avoiding the strike. Just as he was about to say something, a gust of wind blew, dispersing the thick fog. Simultaneously, a loud impact sound and the voice of Naruto resounded. Zabuza, it's not good to talk behind people's backs. Whoosh. In the dense fog, Zabuza, who was previously grinning, froze. In front of his eyes, a blood-red palm that not even the fog could conceal grew infinitely larger. Then it heavily struck his face, causing him to fly backward like a missile. It's the blonde brat, damn it, what kind of creature are you with this chakra? Ignoring Zabuza's astonishment, Naruto chuckled and replied. He's doing well. I'll be sending you to meet him soon. With that, Naruto turned his head to look at Kakashi, who was reading a book. You can't even deal with such a level of ninja. Kakashi, you truly are useless. Bastard. It's just the power of a tailed beast. I've already dealt with it before. Insulted and not knowing whether Haku was alive or dead, Zabuza became somewhat furious. He could at least exchange a few moves with someone like Yagura, a perfect Jinchuriki, before running away. Is this blonde brat stronger than Yagura? With such thoughts, Zabuza prepared to retrieve his weapon with all his might. However, the large sword held tightly showed no movement, as if it was firmly held in place. Am I wrong? It's just a ninjutsu that can be solved with wind release. Kakashi. He was a master of all attributes, not just some of them. Otherwise, the title of the ninja arts expert wouldn't be Asuma Sarutobi, it would be Kakashi Haddock. I'm not good at wind release, I am indeed useless. You better finish me off quickly. Kakashi quickly retreated and raised his hands in surrender, as if conceding the battlefield. Unable to retrieve his weapon, Zabuza simply let go and stepped back, unleashing his most powerful ninjutsu. Water release. Great waterfall technique. Zabuza's swollen cheeks bulged as he spewed out an enormous volume of water capable of forming a tsunami. With a terrifying tidal force, it crashed towards the front where Kase stood. Well, it does have some power. Facing the sky-obscuring water curtain, Kase remained calm and extended a finger. The 3 chakra tails behind him also aimed their tail tips at his fingertip. Let's see you try to handle this. As Kase's words hit the ground, countless crimson chakra mixed with a few blue chakra swiftly converged at the center of the fingertip and the tips of the tails. In the blink of an eye, a dark red chakra sphere, about the size of a basketball, appeared. In the next second, the sphere throbbed like a heartbeat. A terrifying wave followed, sweeping out a circle of shockwaves, forcefully clearing the mist within several tens of meters around. Immediately after, the sphere began to rapidly shrink, instantly becoming the size of a marble. Its color changed from dark red to a heart-stopping pitch black. An aura filled with the scent of destruction permeated the surroundings. What is this? Kakashi, who hadn't run far, furrowed his brows in the shape of the character for V. At the same time, intense panic and a sense of crisis surged in his heart, urging him to quickly move away. Zabuza, who was behind the waterfall in front, also felt the threat of death. Even the crazed expression on his face froze, and then he swiftly withdrew. Now you want to escape. It's too late. The moment Kase calmly uttered these words, he threw the unconscious body of Haku forward from his hand. At the same time, the tailed beast chakra bomb on his fingertip shot out like a bullet, closely following behind Haku. Buzz. In an instant, silence fell, and the colors of the world changed. The black sphere created a terrifying wave channel in the air. The ground below cracked layer by layer and splintered outward. Sizzle. The moment the black sphere touched the water curtain in the sky, the force of the waterfall came to a sudden halt, as if someone pressed the pause button. Then, as if hot oil met cold water, it exploded and splashed out with a loud bang. Countless steam dispersed into the sky. The splashed water waves surged in both directions, like fleeing soldiers. The black sphere, filled with cracks, didn't lose its momentum. Carrying Haku's body, it chased directly towards the retreating and disheveled Zabuza. Damn it, I still have unfulfilled wishes. I still need to revive the hidden mist village. I can't die yet. Due to excessive chakra and physical exhaustion, Zabuza felt somewhat hopeless about his speed. Before he could despair for long, he felt a touch from behind. It was the black sphere colliding with Zabuza's back, carrying Haku. It's Haku. The familiar aura caused Zabuza to quickly turn around and embrace Haku in his arms. The initial panic, regret, and resentment all turned into tranquility in this moment. Being able to die together with Haku in the end should be that yellow-haired brat's final kindness. Along with Zabuza's final thoughts, the cracks on the black sphere behind him suddenly expanded, revealing a horrifying golden red energy inside. In the next second, these golden red energies erupted violently and exploded from the cracks. It happened in an instant. The violently expanding golden red energy engulfed everything within hundreds of meters around. The earth was upheaved, trees toppled, and rivers reversed their flow. From afar, it looked like a golden red sun of destruction blooming on the ground, as if a divine punishment descended from the sky. The explosion from this blooming lasted for a full 10 seconds before dissipating. The original forest and lake were completely gone. There was only a deep bottomless crater remaining. Haku, Zabuza, and everything within it turned into nothingness under that sun. This kind of power. Looking at the huge crater, hundreds of meters ahead, Kakashi's back was drenched in cold sweat. Then he turned his gaze towards Kase, who appeared divine and demonic, with chakra foxtails swaying behind him. Kakashi felt a sense of powerlessness and terror once again. The third Hokage's plan seemed to be falling apart. To try to control and balance this kind of power, relying solely on Naruto to suppress it, is like trying to get a chestnut out of the fire. Kakashi wouldn't share these thoughts with Hiruzen Sarutobi. At most, he would describe what he had witnessed. And as for Zabuza, in the faith he put himself in their shoes and pondered. If he were Zabuza, he wouldn't be able to outrun the blast radius in such a depleted state. And it hadn't even been 2 months since Kase had appeared. The 9 tails chakra controlled by Kase had surged 2 levels, from 1 tail to 3 tails. If he were to face him now, Kakashi might have to resort to using the uncontrollable power of his Sharingan. Kakashi had many thoughts swirling in his mind at the moment. He hadn't even noticed that Kase had approached him after retrieving the 9 tails chakra. It was only when Kase threw the unconscious Sasuke and Sakura towards him that he snapped out of it. Sasuke. What about Sakura? What happened to them? Kakashi hurriedly approached to examine them. Despite their appearances, they looked as if they were critically injured. But upon closer inspection, there wasn't a scratch on them, and their breathing was steady, as if they were simply sleeping. They look so battered, yet there isn't a single injury. Could it be? Kakashi looked up at Kei's ahead. Kei's chuckled lightly, clearly in a good mood. They were severely injured, but I healed them. But their mental exhaustion needs to be replenished through sleep. As soon as Kei's finished speaking, a message from the system followed. Corruption value plus 12,000 current corruption value. 40,000 master personality trust dependency. 60, non-droppable. 40 Upon seeing that Sasuke and Sakura were revived by Kei's without dying, Naruto, who was still conscious in his mind, was overjoyed. He did not know that Haku had spared them, and thought Kei saved them. On the interface, this was reflected as an increase of 12,000 in the corruption value, and an increase of 5 in the non-droppable trust dependency. And at this moment, Naruto's thoughts were clear to Kei's. It was mostly about why he had fought with his comrades before, and caused them to get hurt. Was it because Kei's handled his body better? Various complex emotions filled Naruto's mind. Moreover, Naruto didn't want to come out now and didn't dare to face Sasuke and Sakura, who were still unconscious. Kei's was also happy to temporarily take control of the body, and had no intention of saying anything advantageous to Naruto. There's no need to overdo it. As long as Naruto follows his previous words and thoughts, there shouldn't be any major issues. You've worked hard this time. Kakashi fully accepted Kei's as he held Sasuke and Sakura, one in each arm. Although compared to Naruto, Kei's was ruthless and cruel, it was all directed towards their enemies. For their Team 7 comrades, he took great care of them, and had saved them from life-threatening situations multiple times. Kei's raised an eyebrow and was about to ask Kakashi about his affectionate gaze when suddenly, Tazuna rushed over in a panic. And Ninja-sama. Geto and his subordinates have arrived. In the distance, Geto, with his plastered face, led a large group of lower-level ninja and samurai, marching confidently towards them. HMPH, so Zabuza and that brat are dead after all. They're nothing but useless trash. But to create such a commotion, it seems like you all must have engaged in a life-or-death battle and ended up mutually wounded, right? As he said that, Geto smirked and beckoned forward. Haha, attack. Take them all down. Kei's rolled his eye and waved his hand at Kakashi. Kakashi, they're yours. Facing the clownish figure before him, Kei's couldn't muster much interest and let out a yawn. Upon hearing this, Kakashi handed Sasuke and Sakura over to Tazuna, who was standing beside him. Pulling out the kunai from his waist, Kakashi muttered, "After all, I am your team sensei. You really know how to boss people around." In the wilderness, on a forested land. The cold breeze swept by, and the revived Zabuza abruptly opened his eyes. In an instant, he sat up, clutching his body and gasping for breath. I'm still alive. No, that terrifying chakra clearly tore my body apart. Ah, Lord Zabuza, you're awake. The clear voice interrupted Zabuza's thoughts. Haku, holding a fragrant roasted fish, came running and leaping towards him. Haku. You're not dead either. Seeing Haku's excited face in front of him, Zabuza felt something stir within him. The tiny crack in his frozen heart rapidly expanded, causing the ice to shatter. Regardless of the roasted fish, he immediately embraced Haku tightly. Thank goodness, you're alive. Thank goodness. Forget about the notion that shinobi cannot have emotions, forget about the idea that Haku was just a tool. After experiencing life and death, Zabuza didn't want to escape or numb himself anymore. Feeling the wetness on his shoulder, Haku was stunned. The Zabuza who had spent 10 years killing like a blade with a heart as cold as ice was actually crying. And this kind of warm and genuine emotion, Haku thought it must have been the explosion earlier that damaged Zabuza's mind. He immediately panicked and shouted, "Lord Kazekyo. Lord Zabuza's head hasn't been treated properly. Please come and treat it again." Kazekyo Zabuza's display of true emotions vanished instantly. Just as he was about to push Haku away forcefully as he used to, he gently pushed him aside. My head is fine. It was just the emotions after escaping from the brink of death that I couldn't handle. After explaining with a stern face, Zabuza looked at the person who had appeared before him. Then his eyes whitened like copper bells, and he quickly reached for the giant sword on his back. It's you? That blonde brat. Seeing Zabuza so agitated, Haku quickly stepped forward to restrain him. Lord Zabuza, Lord Kazekyo showed mercy and spared us. He also treated our injuries. Kei's also approached Zabuza with a smile. What Haku said is correct. I spared you and healed you. What exactly do you want? Zabuza furrowed his brow and pulled Haku behind him. Do you want us to do something for you? Kei smiled and shook his head. Not help, but represent. After all, from now on, I will be the master of both of you. You bastard. Upon hearing the word master, Zabuza swung his sword once again. But halfway through the swing, a piercing pain surged through his body. Beside him, Haku's face turned pale, and he groaned in pain. At the same time, a faint crimson chakra, like flames, danced on their bodies. What have you done to us? Zabuza was shocked and furious. The intense pain made it difficult for him to speak clearly. Just some technique that controls your life and death, nothing worth mentioning. As he spoke, the crimson chakra flames on both of them suddenly contracted. The piercing pain also disappeared without a trace. Being someone whose life was controlled by others, Zabuza quickly realized the reality. I admit defeat this time. I'll consider it as having changed bosses, but don't expect me to call you master. You're not even worthy. Kei's lips twitched, suppressing the rising disgust. With your appearance, even if you try not to disgust me, I'll already be disgusted. HMPH. Zabuza didn't pay much attention to Kei's comment. As long as he didn't make him shout like a slave to his master, it was fine. After finishing the beating and subduing Zabuza, Kei also revealed the carrot. I can't personally intervene, so I need you to act on my behalf. But don't worry, I only need you to work for me for 3 years, and after 3 years, I'll set you free. Of course, if you deceive me, be prepared to have no freedom for the rest of your life. Kei couldn't imagine how much he would grow in 3 years. By then, Zabuza and Haku would be dispensable. When Zabuza heard that they would have freedom, his face visibly improved. HMPH, as long as you keep your promise, we will naturally be dedicated. That's good. Kei nodded and continued. That seal that controls your lives is also the power I bestowed upon you. When facing a strong enemy, you can activate it voluntarily, greatly enhancing your physical activity and healing abilities. Kei, who could fully control the Nine Tails chakra, could naturally lend this chakra to others as well. However, this chakra was limited, probably only as much as dozens of Kakashis. It needed to be replenished by Kei after being used. Moreover, this chakra also included the techniques of the Flying Thunder God. This allowed Kei not only to arrive by their side at any time, but also to send shadow clones to provide support. It's Tailed Beast chakra, right? Zabuza deeply looked at Kei and said, compared to Yugur, you are even more like a perfect Jinchuriki. On the side, Haku closed his eyes and sensed something, then directly triggered the Nine Tails chakra. What a powerful feeling. Flames like red cloak emerged on his body, and Haku felt that his strength had increased by a level. If the Hidden Mists pursuit team comes again, I can take them head-on alone. Zabuza did not try the intensity of the Nine Tails chakra like Haku did. He looked ahead and asked Kei directly, what do we need to do afterwards? Any plans? Zabuza's reliable appearance satisfied Kei. After thinking for a moment, he spoke, take over Gato's shipping company and establish an organization to serve me using his money. Of course, I will also prepare a business development plan later. I need you to develop the company into a world conglomerate spanning the ninja world. You should understand better than me the role of money in the entire ninja world. With money, you can hire ninjas for battles, just like the 5 great nations. Although the 5 great nations also have their own ninja warriors, they usually hire ninjas from the 5 major ninja villages to fight. They might even hire other forces like the Akatsuki organization. If a ninja village needs development, it also requires money, otherwise, consumable equipment like hidden weapons, explosive tags, and soldier pills cannot be obtained. Therefore, the relationship between the ninja villages and the major countries is more like partners in a joint venture. Once they find that their partners do not meet their requirements, they may reduce funding and hire other partners. The Hidden Sand Village is the best example of this. Of course, these villages do not dare to rebel, there is no need for rebellion. Their first opponents would be the other ninja villages hired by the country. Even if they succeeded in rebelling, these ninja would only fight, they wouldn't have the capability to govern a nation. In the end, in the ninja world, money is king. It allows you to hire ninjas for battles and even invest in establishing ninja villages. If you provoke public anger or threaten the power of others, you'd get eradicated like the Uzumakis. Or encounter a psycho who can wipe out an entire nation single-handedly. Money can solve most problems. I understand. Zabuza nodded. In fact, his thoughts were similar to Kei's. Both of them intended to seize Gato's company to expand their influence. However, the difference was that Kei's planned to continue operating and developing the company, while Zabuza only wanted to establish an organization and take missions to earn money. Kei's idea of developing the company into a conglomerate was simple. He wanted to create an organization that could challenge Konoha head-on. It would be too easy to simply eliminate them. He wanted to turn Konoha into something like the village hidden in the sand, or even worse. He couldn't settle for a simple death by a single strike. His painful memories wouldn't allow that. He wanted them to experience poverty after being rich, to witness their once supreme power become lowly and despicable. Only then would he consider it revenge. Besides, he had the ability to quickly train capable subordinates. After all, he couldn't personally handle everything, right? Tsuzuna's cabin. Sasuke, who had been unconscious for a day and a night, finally woke up. There was no excitement on his face even though he had narrowly escaped death. Instead, he wore a calm expression. "I'm conscious. It seems that he didn't intend to kill us." During his unconscious state, Sasuke dreamed of Itachi Uchiha and relived those nights multiple times. So his mood was low, and he was quite dissatisfied with his own growth rate. Unfortunately, he didn't have the same rate of growth as Kei's, otherwise, he might have been able to avenge himself in a couple of months. Clang. The sound of a metal basin hitting the ground echoed. Sakura, with a sobbing voice, ran up to Sasuke. "Thank goodness, Sasuke. It's been a whole day and night, and you finally woke up." Due to Sasuke's help in defending against a large number of senbon needles, Sakura's injuries were relatively minor, so she had woken up much earlier. "What happened after we lost consciousness? And what about Kakashi-sensei and Naruto?" Sasuke looked around and saw only Sakura and a little shadow peeping from behind the door. "Who's that little kid hiding behind the door?" "That's Tsuzuna's grandson." After Sakura introduced him, she continued answering Sasuke's previous questions. "After we lost consciousness, Kei's came out and took care of all the enemies. I heard Kakashi-sensei say that this time, Kei's used 3 tails and created a crater hundreds of meters wide." When Sasuke heard about the crater hundreds of meters wide, his pupils constricted, and his expression became even more grim. But when he thought of Naruto being a burden, Sasuke's expression improved slightly. However, Sakura didn't notice and continued vividly recounting the events. After the battle, Gato appeared with a group of lower-ranking and middle-ranking shinobi, trying to take advantage of the situation. But they were beaten back by Kakashi-sensei, and had to retreat in a sorry state. Because Gato wasn't completely dealt with, Kakashi-sensei went to protect Tazuna-san and build a bridge across the sea. As for Naruto, Kei's, he went to the marketplace to wander and shop alone. When it came to shopping at the marketplace, Sakura's expression revealed some worry and concern. After this battle, Kei's didn't return, and Naruto didn't regain control of the body. Although Sakura hoped that Kei's, who was cool and powerful, would stay outside more, Naruto's abnormal behavior was indeed worrisome. Naruto didn't come out to regain control of the body. Recalling the events of yesterday, Sasuke had a rough idea of what had happened. He looked at Sakura with some disgust, shifted his body, and turned away. Yesterday, Naruto made it clear that he didn't want Kei's to come out. Sasuke understood Naruto's concerns, so he simply helped Naruto without mentioning Kei's. But this selfish woman didn't seem to notice or care about Naruto's wishes. As a result, their injuries led Naruto to blame himself, feel remorse, and even experience a mental breakdown. Ultimately, he willingly relinquished control of his body and hid inside, refusing to come out. Seeing Sasuke's sudden coldness, Sakura couldn't make sense of it. She was utterly puzzled by his behavior. However, Sakura had long been accustomed to these hot and cold moments. She turned and entered the kitchen, bringing out the food that had already been prepared. Outside the door, Kei's, who had wandered around for a while, entered with a leisurely push, holding a plate of takoyaki in his hands. One couldn't deny that it felt great to taste delicious food while in control of the body. Naruto's experiences were usually filled with painful memories, but the joyful memories of savoring good food were exclusive to the dominant personality. "Kei's, you're back." Sakura's eyes lit up when she saw Kei's, with his forehead protector casually hanging around his neck and his neatly tied back hair. After placing the food in front of Sasuke, Sakura eagerly joined him, hopping around. "How was your time in the land of waves? Did you have fun?" Kei's glanced at Sakura, then quickly composed himself, revealing a bright smile. "I wandered around casually." This place is indeed poor, with only a few street food stalls. But the taste is pretty good. Here, Naruto specifically asked me to bring this for you. Kase didn't forget to play along with Sasuke and Sakura, but he intended to give Naruto a hard time later. Naruto, well, he actually wanted this to be specially given to you. Blushing, Sakura nervously grabbed her clothes. Suppressing the smile on his face, Kase directly handed the food to Sakura, and then walked towards Sasuke. As Kase approached, Sasuke unconsciously clenched his fist and then relaxed it. He was about to ask some questions about Naruto when Tsuna's daughter, Tsunami, rushed in from outside. Something big has happened. Gedo Shipping Company has signed a treaty with the daimyo to invest in our land of waves and establish a ninja village. They have even sent many people to help build a bridge. Gedo wants to become a noble in our land of waves. What? Tsuna's grandson, Inari, rushed out from inside the house. His little face was filled with anger and disbelief. That villain Gedo has been bullying us for so long. I can't believe the daimyo would agree. Inari, the daimyo's office has already posted a notice. However, most people, like us, disagree with it and are gathering outside the daimyo's office to protest. Perhaps after seeing our voices, the daimyo will reconsider this decision. Tsunami's face was also filled with anger and helplessness. In the past year, too many people had died in their resistance against Gedo, including Inari's father. Now that Cardo had turned the tables and whitewashed himself, no one could accept it. Listening to the childish conversation between the mother and son, Kase shook his head with amusement. The daimyo won't retract the decision because he's afraid and wants to enjoy a good life. Besides, they're offering funds to establish a ninja village. No small country would refuse this temptation. Having just returned after a brief excursion, Kase immediately withdrew a shadow clone and sent out another one. Therefore, he was the most well-informed about this matter. Gedo, who had controlled their lives and deaths with the power of wealth, had almost immediately proposed this idea. The daimyo of the Land of Waves eagerly accepted it, even without mentioning the humiliations they had experienced over the past year. He maintained a smiling face throughout and even forcibly granted them the status of nobles, wanting to tie them up to his own agenda. I don't believe it. I'm going to see the daimyo. Inari shouted in anger and stormed out of the house. Tsunami sighed helplessly and gave Inari a stern look. It's the truth. Kase shrugged indifferently and then asked, is there an empty room and some paper and pen available? He was preparing to outline the development plan for the shipping company. Inside the room, Kase quickly drew up a preliminary plan. As the largest shipping company in the ninja world, Kase naturally wouldn't give up on the advantage of shipping. Although shipping falls under transportation and grants shipping companies a good international standing, it is limited to that. They can only bully remote and impoverished small countries like the Land of Waves. And after wasting so much time, they still hadn't succeeded. If they truly wanted to participate in the power struggles of various countries, they needed recognition. They had to start with food and energy. As for technological research, to be honest, most of the technology products from Kase's previous life existed in the ninja world. However, they were not widely spread, and the technological levels varied greatly in different places. The main issue was that technology required a lot of time. It encompassed too many projects and yielded slow results. Compared to that, food and energy were more expedient. Among the two, Kase leaned more toward food. After all, various energy resources were controlled by major nations, and he didn't plan on seizing them from the tiger's mouth. But food was much simpler. He only needed to exchange for a unique wood release ninjutsu. Then, by crossbreeding and grafting seeds, he could cultivate seeds with high quality and high yield characteristics, quickly dominating the market. Moreover, there were only a few ninjas in the ninja world who possessed wood release, and none of them cared about researching the plants or crops. They only thought about how to increase their combat power to harm their enemies. Furthermore, the food production capacity and methods in the ninja world were extremely low and backward. When Naruto controlled his body and followed Kakashi on missions, he experienced artificial transplanting and manual grain harvesting. Not only were the production methods backward, but the yield per acre of land was also low. Compared to the yield of 1,000 jin per mu of hybrid rice in Kase's previous life, the situation here was simply unbearable. After formulating the development plan, Kase directly summoned the system panel in his mind. Exchangeless wood release ninjutsu, Asura, 600,000 corruption points through 1,000 hands, top transformation Buddha. 150,000 corruption points wood clone technique. 120,000 corruption points wood dragon technique. 100,000 corruption points grass wood technique. 2,000 corruption points. There were many wood release ninjutsu, and the system categorized them very meticulously. Unfortunately, they were all too expensive, which disappointed Case. However, fortunately, he found a wood release technique suitable for exchange, and the required corruption points were not high. System: exchange for the grass wood technique. Exchange successful. Corruption points minus 2,000 current corruption points. 38,000. When the exchange succeeded, Case keenly sensed a familiar chakra surging into his body. However, previously, this chakra suppressed him, but now, he could make use of it. Asura chakra, it's a pity there's too little. Since exchanging for a character's ninjutsu would also grant a one-time release of chakra, Case wasn't very surprised. But the pressure on his soul had lessened a bit. If Naruto tried to regain control of his body again, he could delay him for a few more seconds with this tiny bit of Asura chakra. Looking at the remaining 38,000 corruption points, Case didn't plan to save them. He intended to exchange all of them for power. System: exchange for Yang Nine Tails. Exchange for transformation technique. Exchange successful. Yang Nine Tails corruption points minus 36,000. Exchange successful. Transformation technique corruption points minus 2,000 current corruption points. 0 previously, it cost a total of 14,000 to exchange for the 3 tails chakra mode. So the remaining 6 tails only required 36,000. As for the intermediate Jonin techniques, they were obtained from Zabuza, Haku, and the other Chunin under Geto. After the exchange was completed, Case clearly felt that his body had become much stronger again. At the same time, the influx of massive 9 tails chakra caused Case to feel somewhat lost. If the previous 3 tails chakra mode was like a pond, then this complete Yang 9 tails was like the ocean. The two were in completely different leagues. Without hesitation, Case could create a bunch of tailed beast bombs again in one go. And each one is as big as a basketball, not like those small marbles from before. Combined with his cage-level physical techniques, Case felt that he could easily slaughter cage-level individuals. In a true sense, he now possessed self-defense capabilities in the shinobi world. No need to worry about the members of Akatsuki coming after him before the plot goes berserk. The commotion from Case's side quickly caught the attention of Sasuke and Sakura downstairs. Thump, thump, thump. The two quickly ran up the stairs and burst open the door. What happened? Why is the whole house shaking? The moment they entered, Case completely retracted the overflowing 9 tails chakra from his body. And the wooden house stopped shaking. It's nothing, I just accidentally lost control of the 9 tails chakra. Looking at the messy room, the two didn't question further. However, Sasuke couldn't help but clench his fist again, his expression somewhat gloomy. He could clearly sense that Case had become stronger once again. Just standing there, he felt a sense of crisis as if facing a terrifying monster. This kind of palpitation and fear, he had only sensed from Uchiha Itachi before. By the way, help me tidy up the room. I have something to do. Having completed his plans and exchanges, Case had no intention of staying any longer. After notifying the two, he leaped out of the window and quickly disappeared into the distance. It was clearly you who messed it up. Case seems to have gotten stronger again. Sakura was about to refute and complain, but was startled by Case's speed of departure. Upon hearing Sakura's words, Sasuke's face turned cold, and he turned his head downstairs. You clean up the room, I'm going to train. Sakura. Looking at the chaotic room, Sakura suddenly felt somewhat frustrated. Suddenly, she missed Naruto. If Naruto were here, he would definitely clean up the room by himself, not just her, but Naruto alone. Nighttime. The base of the Geto Transport Company. Zabuza, Haku, and Geto were kneeling respectfully in the room. Due to the special identity of Geto, Case didn't let Zabuza or Haku kill Geto. Instead, he used him as a puppet for appearances. Originally, Geto strongly disagreed. But after being tortured by Zabuza several times and gaining tremendous power, he obediently complied. The three of them didn't wait long while kneeling. Case, wearing a mask with 4 stars, appeared in front of them in an instant. After sweeping his gaze over them, Case directly scattered a bunch of seeds. I've cultivated rice seeds, tomorrow you will go register the seed company. Upon hearing this, Zabuza and Haku quickly nodded. As for Geto, he cautiously glanced at Case and asked in a low voice, is this the rice you mentioned that can yield 1,000 kilograms per mu? Seemingly afraid of being misunderstood, Geto quickly lowered his head and knocked it hard on the ground, saying, "No, no, no, I didn't mean to question you." And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.